Padres.
Real opinions, real takes, no wasted time.
It has been the little things that have outdone San Diego State, and that's where they got to improve.
Live and local on 97.3 The Fan. The Braden Surprenant Show starts now.
What's up, San Diego? And a happy Thursday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Good to be with all of you today on a Thursday. Great being able to talk with Booney today. We got a special treat. We got to talk with Booney today on the roundtable. We got Bob Scanlan on today in this hour, talking baseball. We got Mark Neville on at noon. I mean, we're just going down the list of everybody that we're going to have part of the show today. Elias and Achouri's going to be on, Achouri's going to be on later on at 1 o'clock. Eddie Brown's going to be on at 1:25. We got a fun-packed show and a huge couple of shows of guests over the next two days. It's going to be a great way to finish up the week. We're excited about it. We're excited about everything going on in the sports world. Padres get a victory yesterday, and I will say this. They asked on the roundtable what your level of concern is about this Padres team after they lost 2 out of 3 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. My level of concern was a lot lower than everybody. Well, not really lower than Boone's. I mean, Brett Boone's going to be on the low level because he played in the big leagues a long time. He's coached the big leagues. He understands, like, the players are not concerned about, maybe a one series that they didn't hit. I'm in that conversation too. I do not think that, like, the Padres are in a concerning spot. Yes, I know Manny hasn't been playing as well. Jackson Merrill up until yesterday has been swinging the bat well, right? And there's a lot of, things moving about. I thought this last series against the Pittsburgh Pirates was a series that you win against some pretty good pitching. I understand you're going to have to go against good pitching in the postseason and in October, but I'm not ready to think about this as a concerning sign that they lost 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, who beat them in extra innings on Monday, beat them on a home run given up by a pitcher that hadn't given up a home run in over a year. I'm not really worried about that. They were going against Paul Skeens. They were going against Bubba Chandler, who they beat yesterday. They were going against Ashcraft. I mean, those are some of the best pitchers that you will see. I get it. You're going to have to hit good pitching come October, but I don't think a one-off series is something to be overly concerned about. I really don't. I think the thing that stinks about this last week is the fact that you couldn't take advantage of the situation with some of the scores around you in Major League Baseball. You could have distanced yourself a little bit from Arizona. Yes, Arizona's playing really good baseball as of right now, but as we talked about it going into the game on Monday, if the Padres, now that would have been a 6-0 run, but if the Padres would have taken 2 out of 3, they would have been in a position where they would have been at least 2 games up on the Arizona Diamondbacks, maybe even 3. They also would have been right there with Philadelphia for the number 5 spot. And on top of that, they would have basically eliminated everybody from the wild card with the exception of Arizona. That's where the missed opportunity was this week for the San Diego Padres. It wasn't that the offense wasn't very good, right? And this is concerning for October. This wasn't a situation in which, the pitching gave it up late. I don't even think the bullpen or the pitching staff has any sense of blame over the last series. This series is disappointing because of what you were unable to do in terms of, like, distancing yourself from everybody else in the postseason race. That's basically it. That's basically it. That's all I got. I think the Padres are in a good spot. I really do. My level of concern is a 1 or a 2. I don't think it's that big of a concern. You're going to deal with a tough Rays team this weekend. Hopefully they could take 2 out of 3. If not, if they go 1-2 and then take 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati, then you're even. at 3-3. Another average road trip as long as you take care of business at home. So my level of concern of the Padres, not very high. I thought the Padres did a good job yesterday of weathering the storm, getting a victory after losing the first two games. We'll talk about Randy Vásquez in a second. But, Frank, as we start the show today, I thought that was an interesting question on the roundtable. I'm not concerned about this team. I'm really not. Tough week. You're going to have those. You're not going to be perfect all the time. It stinks that they couldn't take advantage of their opportunities, but my level of concern is not very high. I chalk this up as a one-off. Now, if they continue to not be able to score runs over the next, week and a half, yeah, obviously my concern-o-meter is going to go a little bit higher, but right now, I'm not overly concerned about this Padres team.
No, it's just a bummer of a couple of games. And again, Braxton Ashcraft is not a bad pitcher. We know what Paul Skeens is, but he hasn't been that. And Bubba Chandler's a solid enough pitcher in his own right. Again, just the offense had a bad series. After doing what they did against Minnesota, it's especially shocking to see how bad the offense was throughout this series. But other than that, I have no concern. The starting rotation starting to get back into it. Another scoreless 5 innings from Randy Vásquez yesterday. Don't mind seeing that in any way, shape, or form. Jackson Merrill had a double and a triple yesterday. Jade Cronenworth got himself an RBI hit as well. So, I mean, the level of concern about this team playing the way it did back in April and May is a lot lower than it would be if it were still April and May, because we hadn't seen the offense start to turn it around. We hadn't seen the offense do what it has done since the All-Star break just yet. So knowing what we know now, no, I would say I'm about a 1 or a 2 on the worryometer.
Yeah, I'm not really worried at all. I thought yesterday was a good bounce back from Jackson Merrill before we start talking about the pitching staff. I mean, Jackson Merrill for a limited time had like most of your hits. I mean, he was this week was the ultimate boom or bust player right now for Jackson Merrill. I mean, the first 2 games he was 0 for 9 with 4 strikeouts, chased 13 to 20 pitches outside the strike zone. Arguably had a very rough day on Monday, in which I think if he has a more patient at bat, Padres probably win on a walk-off walk as he faced Kirby Yates on Monday. It was bad, and it was bad over the weekend for Jackson Merrill. But then in the finale against Bubba Chandler, a double, an RBI triple, 102-mile-an-hour line out. He walked, only chased 1 pitch outside the zone, and he hit that pitch for a double. So, Merrill himself summed up his season remarkably well. There will be games where he looks completely lost, and there's games where he's going to look like the best player in baseball. But, Merrill's really good at producing extra base hits, especially on pitches outside the zone. So doesn't necessarily surprise probably a lot of people that he swings outside the zone. But there's obviously a major difference, Frank, between making a calculated, aggressive approach of a swing outside the zone and becoming completely undisciplined. And he is flirting with that a little bit right now this season, but he is definitely very much a boom or bust player right now for the Padres. He needs to find a little bit more consistency, but I'm glad he had a bounce back outing yesterday.
He did look very good. He looked great yesterday. He looked back to the Jackson Merrill that we know of and that we're gotten used to seeing. I'm not surprised that it did come back, but on the other hand, the fact that it even went away in such a dramatic fashion as it did, especially on Monday night, I think that's the more shocking part. And you're right, there is a difference between being aggressive and reckless with your pitch selection. Monday was reckless. He was just swinging at absolutely everything and in clutch, bases loaded situations late in the game as well. Yesterday was more controlled aggression, which is what you want out of every hitter. You want to have that controlled aggression and not fall into that realm of being just purely reckless with the way you're swinging the bat.
Let's talk about Randy Vásquez again. I mean, I didn't get any tweets yesterday, so he must have pitched very well. Randy Vásquez, we were there. I mean, he was pitching a contact. He was pitching for outs. That's what you want to see out of a guy like Randy Vásquez. And, he has now made this rotation look 15 times better than it was for like the last month and a half. Look, I understand that you added Casey Mize as a good piece, and you added Robbie Ray, and Joe Musgrove's on the horizon, but the emergence of Randy Vásquez coming back to what he was at the beginning of the season is a huge development for this pitching staff and a huge development for the starting rotation to finish the season. That is now a career best 10 wins for Randy Vásquez after he got the victory yesterday. He's 10-6 on the year. Yesterday, he went 5 innings, did not allow a run, only allowed 1 hit on 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. He has a 4.02 ERA right now. I mean, another good outing, Frank. He's going to have a sub-4 ERA. He's going to look a lot like the Randy Vásquez we saw at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, you could tell before he went on the IL, when he started to slip, you could tell that something was bothering him, that something was not quite right with him. And now that he's gotten healthy and has gotten back into the swing of things, he's pitching right back to the way he was back at the beginning of the season. To throw your last couple of outings to be 12 scoreless innings, that is a return to form for him and the quality that we knew and said that he had at the beginning of the season. He has solidified once again his spot in the starting rotation, I feel, with these last 2 outings.
And he's got a little bit of time right now, obviously, with a couple, probably, a decent amount of more starts left in the season. But I mean, he is on pace to have a career year in almost every stat category. I mean, WAR might be a little bit off. He is, 1.2 off the pace because he obviously missed some time and had a little bit of a lull right there. But this is the most wins he has ever had in a season by a lot. It's the first time he's ever made it to 10 wins in a season, 10-6. His best ERA in a full season was a 3.84. That was last year for the Padres. He's got a good chance of getting his ERA down to that. It's going to be, he's going to have to dominate a little bit, but he's got a chance to do that. He started 26 games last year. He has an opportunity to tie or go above that in his career. He's pitched in 28 games last year, 133 innings. This year, 123 innings and 26 games. So he's getting close to setting a lot of career numbers this year, and this is perfect for what the Padres. I mean, at this point in time, if you were going to ask for Randy Vásquez to just kind of turn it on and be the best version of Randy Vásquez you could get, now is the perfect time, instead of him maybe doing this for majority of the season and then having that middle part near the end of where he had all these mess ups. Because if he was going through that stretch that we saw him right before they put him on the IL right now, the concernometer would obviously be a lot higher when it comes to the San Diego Padres and Randy Vásquez.
Yeah, now you're starting to see the solidification of the starting line, the starting rotation. You also have Joe Musgrove, who's going to be coming back soon. Nick Pivetta just threw a rehab start. Musgrove throws one today with El Paso. So I mean, you're starting. The biggest concern going into the trade deadline is now starting to correct itself once again. Now, Robbie Ray and Casey Mize haven't been necessarily entirely what you expected, but they did bring that stability. And now the guys that are here, that are already here, are starting to perform back to the way we saw at the beginning of the season, bringing even further stability into that starting rotation going into the postseason.
Some of the concerns, of course, are like individual performances, guys like Manny, guys like Jackson. Fernando 1 for 13 against Pittsburgh. He had been outstanding since the All-Star break before this series. So not great numbers against Pittsburgh this week. He actually has unusually poor career numbers against Pittsburgh in his career. For some reason, he just cannot handle the Pirates, I guess. That's just been a team that's got his number at this point in time. Manny, no extra base hits during the 6-game homestand, hitting 200 of his past 13 games, grounded into his National League leading 19th double play. I mean, it was kind of fitting that you saw the Manny Machado double play yesterday after we talked about it on the show at the Loft. I mean, you could tell he's dealing with things and dealing with some injuries of some kind. I mean, he got the thing on his thumb or his finger or whatever. I know he's had some other stuff throughout the year. We've talked about this a lot with over the course of the last couple of years. He had the tennis elbow situation, the ankle situation. And he always is the guy that wants to post every day. But I do think, like, it gets to a point, we talked about this on the roundtable, and maybe we dive a little bit deeper into it when we come back. But, at some point, like, I love the fact that he wants to play every day. I do. I love that. I mean, I talked about this on the roundtable too. At this point in time, there's not a lot of people that play sports that are like Manny Machado anymore, that just want to be out there all the time. And, you're going to have to you're going to have to take him, you're going to have to drag his body off the field for him not to play. I mean, I see at the youth level right now all the time. I got like one kid like that where I coach, they never want to come out. A lot of kids now just don't mind. It's like, yeah, I want to come out. Yeah, I don't really need it. Yeah, I could use a break. But Manny's not like that. And sometimes I think you have to protect ball players from themselves. And the question now becomes, for Manny and what this team has to do, is should the Padres give Manny some extra days rest? Now, there's a couple of different ways to look at this. Number one, what were we told, Frank, during spring training at the beginning of the year of how they were going to handle Manny Machado?
They were going to force him to sit.
They were going to force him to sit throughout the year, right? Have we really seen that at all?
No.
I mean,
at the beginning of the season, yes. You saw him taking more days off at the beginning of the season. And as the smart money probably would have said, as it got down towards the nitty gritty, you're getting closer to a playoff run. You're teetering on the edge of the wild card. It was going to be harder to get him to sit. And wouldn't you know who won the pony?
At the beginning of the season, it was like they wanted him. They were trying to get him to sit. They were sitting him, right? But then he wasn't doing very well. So they're like, well, we got to get him going. So he's got to keep playing in the lineup. And then since then, if you look at he's played almost every single day. The Padres have played, 134 games? Does that sound right? 134 games?
Sure. Math.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, they've played 134 games. He's played in 131 of them. He has not played in 3 games. I mean, that to me is not like, let's try to get this guy extra rest. Now, I know the biggest fight's going to be like telling Manny he's got to sit, but he might need a day off or two. When we come back, we're going to talk about that. The difference of, maybe protecting him from himself, but also, do you give Manny Machado a day off? We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, Static Zone Sports Station 97 through the Fan. (10:23) on a Thursday. It's hot out there. Stay cool. Stay hydrated. It's been hot and humid. The ocean's probably nice. It's like almost 80 degrees in the Pacific Ocean. I feel like I'm on the East Coast right now. Crazy. 833-288-973. 833-288-973 if you want to join the show today. We're talking about Manny Machado, whether or not he should have a day off. I look at this from a couple of different standpoints. We talked about it on the roundtable. I talked about it in the last segment. I find it admirable that Manny wants to play every single day. I find it admirable. I love it. It's great. I think it sets a good precedent for the young guys, right? Like, hey, I get paid to play baseball. I'm going to post. Like, it's literally what he said. Couldn't agree with that more. But to me, the decision about this is a couple of things. Number one, they said, the Padres did, during spring training, they wanted to get Manny off his legs a little bit. They wanted to get him more scheduled days off. Okay, they wanted him to be fresh for October for the final push. The San Diego Padres have played 134 games. They're 72-62. Manny Machado has played in 131 out of the 134 games the Padres have played. He has had 3 days off. I mean, I don't know how you could say, like, oh, we're going to try to give him days off and days rest. And he's only missed 3 games? Come on. You guys, the whole what was the conversation, Frank, at the beginning of the year? It was like, he really fell off in like the last 2 months. He just kind of ran out of gas. And we want to prevent that from happening this year. So we're going to give him a lot more scheduled days off. The guy has sat for 3 games all season. That's number one. Number two. Now, this is where I think things get interesting. Like, number two, to me, and I looked at this the same way I viewed it from this perspective of a football game that I watched a handful of years ago, and it's been a long time now because J.J. Watt's not even in the league anymore. I remember whatever season it was, the Houston Texans missed J.J. Watt for like the majority of the season. I think the guy missed like 10 games or something like that. Could have missed more. Whatever it was. And like J.J. Watt, obviously one of their best defensive players, okay, on the D line, leader of the team, right? Captain, all that hullabaloo. And he finally gets like somewhat healthy, but he's not 100% healthy. And he like forces his way to play for the Texans because he thinks he's helping the team. You got to get me out there. I got to get out there and give it a shot. I got to go out there and play. He like single-handedly killed the Texans in a playoff game against the Patriots because the guy was out of shape. He wasn't in football shape, and he wasn't healthy enough to be J.J. Watt. He was barely healthy enough to be the player that was the backup to J.J. Watt, who probably would have given him a better opportunity to win than J.J. Watt did. Now, I don't think you're in that particular situation yet with Manny Machado. But I do think there is a little bit of a middle ground of, yes, I want him to be able to I want him to want to play every single day. Yes, I want him to post every day. But if he is not able to perform better than the level of his replacement due to maybe an injury or something here or there, it's time to give him some rest. Are the Padres at that point right now? I don't necessarily think that's true. It's not like they have this plethora of infielders that are, up to Manny Machado's caliber that are going to go out there and give the Padres a better chance to win than Manny. But I do think you're in the position now, Frank, where you got to mix in a couple of days off for this guy so he's ready for the end of the season. Because sometimes when you try to play and you cannot be the player that you are or even a shell of it, it actually hurts your team more than it helps your team.
especially now that you have a chance, and I understand he has not had a great season. He's hitting 208, 19 home runs, does a minus .4 WAR, 57 RBIs. When you have the chance to get a guy like Eugenio Suarez now, where you're going to have to pay him like $3 million off of waivers, that's something that should be intriguing to be able to get that same sort of potential pop. He's essentially the same player. He's not as good defensively, but offensively, they've been giving the same amount pretty much this year. So if you have the chance, if he comes up in the waiver wire to be able to get to Eugenio Suarez and bring him in, I think that would be a fantastic substitute for Manny Machado, to give him a couple of extra days off that he so sorely needs right now.
And again, yeah, somebody in the chat, like football and baseball are too delayed for monsters. You're missing the point, dude. The point is, at some point, just being the guy that wants to play every day can be detrimental to your team if you cannot perform at a good level. That's the point. Like, yeah, it's admirable for guys to be like, oh, I could still go. But like, if just because you got the heart to go out there and play doesn't mean it's going to help your team, Frank. That was the whole point of the conversation.
No, exactly. There comes a point where you are so worn out and so tired, and it happens in every industry here as well. If there's a day where you come in tired and are just dragging, you become a detriment to the show because of that. You're not as good as you are. You're not as good as, say, I would be, or as Scraby or Sam would be filling in. There comes a point where you are so out of it that you become a detriment to the overall product. And that is the point where somebody or you have to have the presence of mind to say, I can't do it today, or I shouldn't be able to do it today. If you need me to, I'll do my best, but I'm not going to be at my best today.
And I don't think this is a situation in which like Manny needs an IL stint. I don't think we're in that.
No.
He's got the day off today. I don't think it would be terrible for him to not play tomorrow. You need to find days where he can like get a day off. And I think the biggest concern for the Padres is trying to convince a guy like Manny Machado that, like, hey man, I need you to take a day off. I think that's a difficult conversation. I think it is. Because he wants to play. The guy's always played. That's the best part. Like when the Padres signed Manny Machado to the contract that he got, the best news is the fact that this dude plays. He plays through injury. He plays through pain. He plays when he's not 100%. The guy plays. That's the best part about signing a guy like Manny Machado. The guy is going to play. If you look at his numbers, 2013, 156 games. 2014, he was out for a significant time with that knee injury. Remember, he had that knee injury early in his career. 2015, played all 162. 2016, 157 games. 156 games. 2018, played a full 162. 156 in 2019. He played all 60 in 2020. And then he went 153, 150. Had that IL stint in 2023, right, with the ankle.
I think he
only played he still played 138 games.
I think he avoided the IL.
He just was out 10 days.
He was just they just sat him because he didn't want to go on the IL.
He basically had his own IL.
Yes.
I mean, he missed that year. He only played 138 games, which is like what most players play. 152, 159, and so far he's played 131 games. They got to find a way to get him a day off. Now, today's a day off, which is great, but they got to find another area to give him a day off.
I mean, it's a 4-hour drive. Tampa to Miami, spend a day at home in your hometown growing up. I mean, that could be a nice little recharger for him. Who knows?
I mean, give him a day off in Tampa, maybe. I mean, if the Padres could take care of business in the first couple of games against Tampa, maybe you sit him one day on Sunday in Tampa and you sit him one day in Cincinnati. You got to find a couple of days to give this guy. Maybe just today being off, he'll feel a little bit better tomorrow. I mean, you never know. When we come back, we're going to hear Bob Scanlan's take on a lot of these things. We're going to get to Bob when we come back. Part of our big show of guests today on the Braden Surprenant Show. Setting us over at Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. $10:39 on a Thursday. It is a big league Thursday today on 97.3 The Fan. We had Brett Boone on with the roundtable. It was good to talk to Booney, and now we get to do it like we get to have the tall right-hander on from the San Diego Padres broadcast team. He's not closing today, so we didn't play his closer music. So he's got some middle relief innings for us today. Joining us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. Our other major league friend, Bob Scanlan, joins us from probably a humid Tampa out there on the East Coast on an off day. Bob, what's going on?
Not too much, Braden, but I protest. Does Mason Miller still get his song when he comes into a game, even though it's not a save situation?
He does.
Yes, he
That's
does.
True.
Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
That's on Frank.
Anyway.
That's on Frank.
I'm having an off day, Bob. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Really? Is it a rough day, Frank?
Yeah, it's been a rough day. My bad.
Oh, shoot. Sorry
It's
to hear that,
okay.
man. Long distance hug from Florida for you, Frank. Hang in there, buddy.
All right, Bob, let's talk about this Padres team. Obviously, got definitely the results you wanted and more against the Minnesota Twins. Probably didn't get the results you wanted against the Pittsburgh Pirates, but it's a winning homestand. You go 4-2. That's kind of what you were looking for. When you started the homestand before you head on the road. They asked us on the roundtable about the concernometer. I don't think this series was too concerning when it comes to the Padres offense. Mine's not very high. How would you evaluate the Padres as they head into their road trip after a 4-2 homestand?
Wait, the concernometer for what's the biggest concern? I'm curious at this point.
They were worried.
For me, the Padres are playing some of their best baseball right now. Go
They
ahead.
were worried about the offense, Bob. They're worried about the offense, and my response was they played some really good pitching. I get you got to deal with good pitching in the playoffs, but it's a one-off series. Tip your cap to the Pirates. They played really well, but I'm not very concerned.
No, look, Ashcraft and Skeens, you're going to have your hands full with those two guys, right? And they battled. I guess the frustrating part was in game one against Pittsburgh. You sort of did the heavy lifting part, right? You got a 2-2 tie going late into the ball game. You survived Ashcraft. You're still in the game. Now it's a battle of the bullpens. You always feel good about that. And the Padres had opportunities to get it done with things that they've done well all season long, which is getting bunts down, doing the little things, the small ball things that they've been so good at all season. And they weren't able to execute there at the end. I think that was the thing that was so frustrating about that first game. You did the heavy lifting, then the stuff that you've been doing all season long so well, you just weren't able to execute there in the extra innings, and they end up taking the loss. That was rough. The next one, Mason Miller mislocating a changeup. You can always question, do you want to get beat with your third best pitch? But as he explained, it's not necessarily like all of his offerings are amazing, and you can go with a changeup there, but you can't leave it down and into the left-hand batter like he did in that situation. And he acknowledged it. It's like, look, I was convicted in the pitch. I mislocated it. So that was a tough one as well. But it just feels like the things that were issues earlier in the season, specifically, the rotation and the pressure that's being put on the bullpen and the offense being able to score, most of those things have been so much better of late, especially the starting rotation. It's taken the pressure off the bullpen as we had hoped. Did the offense come through big time against two of the tougher pitchers in baseball, against Pittsburgh? No, but they stayed in the game and they did get some runs across. So this is another really good test coming up, Braden, with regards to that concernometer that you brought up with, which is how does this offense respond to top-notch pitching? And that's going to be another test. You just came out of Pittsburgh facing three really good, tough guys. I mean, Bubba Chandler in game three, still tough, and you still scored 2 runs against them. Now you're going to go up against Shane McClanahan, Nick Martinez and Drew Rasmussen with Tampa Bay, and all three of those guys are legit too. So this is a really good test for the offense in terms of facing top-notch starting pitching night after night after night.
We're talking with Bob Scanlan, who's joining us in the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking, it's better. We're going to talk about Randy Vásquez here in just a second, Bob. But I do want to ask, I mean, obviously Mason Miller was extremely frustrated with the pitch that he threw. Not the decision to throw the changeup, but his location. Is that the most frustrating thing as a pitcher? Is there something else when you know it's a good pitch, you know that O'Neal Cruz doesn't do well against changeups, but it's like, I just didn't execute. I had the right pitch. Is that the most frustrating thing for a pitcher, or are there other things?
Yeah, no, that's frustrating, but that's better than second guessing yourself, right? I mean, you really don't sleep well at night if you're thinking like, oh man, why did I throw that pitch? You know, an example of that, remember Dennis Eckersley giving up the home run to Kirk Gibson in the World Series, A's Dodgers, many years ago? Yeah. Anyway, it's an iconic moment where you see Kirk Gibson, you know, limping up the home plate with a bad hamstring, and he hits a home run against Dennis Eckersley to give the Dodgers the win. It's, you know, a super iconic World Series moment. Anyway, when you talk to Dennis Eckersley later on, he was explaining to me, he goes, I was going fastball, fastball, fastball. And I knew Kirk Gibson had a bad hamstring. I knew he wasn't catching up to my fastball. He was just barely fouling him off. And then all of a sudden, my catcher put down slider. And without even thinking, I went into my windup. And like halfway through the windup, he's like, why am I throwing a slider? You know? And so he throws the slider and he hangs it. And it's the only thing that Kirk Gibson can catch up to. And he hits the home run. The point is, that's tougher to live with when you look back and you're thinking, what was I thinking right there? Why did I throw that pitch? You know, that's different than, no, I had the right idea. I had the right, you know, evaluation of the situation. I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't execute it. Not that that is a great feeling either, but at least you're not second guessing yourself about, you know, what was I thinking throwing that pitch in the first place? He was trying to go change it down and away. He left it down and in. Down and into most left-hand batters is the nitro zone, and Cruz got to it. I mean, those things happen. Like Craig Stammen said afterwards, he's a human being. You know, he's not going to be perfect all the time. And unfortunately, you don't sleep really well with either one, but I think I'd sleep a little bit better knowing that at least I had the right idea in mind.
Let's talk about Randy Vásquez. I mean, another good outing yesterday. He's starting to look a lot. He looks like he did last year at this time and the beginning part of the season, and he is got a lot of career numbers in striking distance. This is the first time he's ever won double-digit games as in terms of getting a victory, you know, for the decision. That's something he's obviously proud about. I think this ultimately changes the dynamic of this rotation even more. But I mean, Bob, you get to see this guy up close. You've seen him. You've seen the ups. You've seen the downs. And he's been on a little bit of an uptick. What's been the difference and the most noticeable thing that you've seen since he came off the injured list?
Fastball usage and fastball aggressiveness. It's as simple as that. To your point, Randy's been through a lot over the course of his career already, right? And he's battled through a lot of things. And to his credit, he has come through some really tough periods and made himself a better pitcher. And he gives credit to, you know, the coaching staff. He gives credit to Yu Darvish for helping with his routines and how he looks at pitching. And in other words, the kid cares. And when he gets challenged with something, he's rebounded back. And as you explained, we saw that this year in terms of coming out of the gates, throwing great. I think he's one of the most dependable starters that the team had. And then all of a sudden, things started to get fuzzy. And the number one thing that made him so dominant early on was his fastball usage and fastball command. What started getting fuzzy that put him into a situation where he all of a sudden found himself in the bullpen and sort of being rotated as a bulk guy and everything, loss of that fastball command. What has he done in the last 3 or 4 outings? He got back to just going with fastballs, 4-seamers and 2-seamers. It's been the primary pitch that he's used. He's not trying to nibble on the corners. He's going right after guys, right down the middle, and saying, okay, here it is. Do the best you can with it. And we're seeing a lot of early outs. In those first 3 innings yesterday where he retired 9 guys in a row, 6 of those outs were on 3 pitches or less. 3 of them were on first pitch fastballs. And he's just coming after guys. And just because you're aiming down the middle doesn't mean that you're going to throw it down the middle, right? But if you're aiming for a corner and you miss with it, most likely you're missing off the plate and now you're behind in the count. So early on, he established his fastball. Guys knew that he was going to be aggressive. He did a nice job of mixing it up between the 4-seamer and the 2-seamer. And really, when you think about it, if you can locate your fastball, that's 4 different pitches. Down and in, down and away, up and in, up and away. And if you can do that with two different types of fastballs, one that's staying true, your four-seamer, and then your sinker, it's almost like you got 8 weapons at your disposal right there from the get-go to get early outs. And he did that. And he's done that the last few outings, Braden. And it's back to what Randy was doing early in the season. Then, all of a sudden, you got guys swinging at the fastball. They know they have to respect that. Now you can throw cutters. Now you can throw changeups. Now you can throw curveballs and have a much better chance of those guys chasing after it because you've already shown that you can pound the zone. So that it sounds as simple as that. Sometimes it's not as simple as that. And he actually got away from it a little bit in the 4th inning, right? After retiring the first 9 batters that he faced, all of a sudden he comes out and you could just see he's thinking, okay, I can't throw fastballs right down the middle or, center cut second time through the lineup. I got to start trying to nibble and get to corners a little bit more. And what happened? He fell behind in the count and he started getting himself in trouble. And Ruben comes back out there and he talks to him and he gets him locked back in. Next thing you know, he gets the big strikeout to work out of that jam in the 4th inning because he starts getting aggressive again. And he did it again in the 5th inning, went right after guys. So I think he's learning. I think he's trusting his stuff. I think he's starting to realize the value of the heater, his ability to locate it where he wants to get ahead. He has natural movement that makes it not just an easy pitch that guys are going to be able to hit, even when it is in the zone. And it helps set the other stuff up as well. And it keeps his pitch count efficient so that he can go deeper in the games. So next step in his growth, and sometimes you got to have like a tough lesson to learn that. His tough lesson was he was taken out of the rotation. He didn't like that. So he had to prove, I got to get back in. How do I do that? Let's get after it and go after guys with that heater again. It's been fun to watch.
It's absolutely been fun to watch. It's been good to see him back to being the pitcher we know he can be. And that's all the confidence there in executing his fastball pitches. We're talking with Bob Scanlan here on the SDCCU Fan Hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. Manny Machado's cooled off again. I know he's dealing with some aches and some pains. He's got a little bit, maybe some injuries mixed in as well. I know he's dealing with something on his hand, and without getting into the details, at the beginning of the season, the Padres said they wanted to give him a couple of extra days off, more than they usually do. I know that's difficult to try to convince Manny to take some days off. He has only missed 3 games all season, and we're here now at the end of August. Whether or not it's time to give Manny a day off will not be my question. It's just more of a sense of, how difficult is it for a staff or maybe other players to help, convince a guy, or even for the guy himself to be like, hey, you know what? We're going to need you later in the year. We need you to take a day off. I mean, I feel like that's got to be a tough conversation for a guy like Manny that prides himself on posting every day, even if he's not at his best.
Braden, it's an ongoing debate, and there's so many elements to it. It's not just the one guy that we're talking about, right? Because here's the debate. Are you better off giving your best players more days off and going with your backup players so that the everyday guys are actually fresher when they're in there? Or are you compromising so much by not having your top guys in there, even if they're not 100%, right? Where's the balance on that? And the other factor in it as well is sort of a old school baseball mentality of I come to play. And there's something to be said for that. And I know sometimes it can be viewed as, but to what detriment? You're going to play yourself right onto the IL because you're going too hard. There is a balance on that. But there's also sort of just a leadership spirit that you share with your teammates when you're that guy and everybody knows, hey, that guy, our stud, who could take a day off whenever he wants, isn't. I know he's not 100%. I know he's got whatever, go through the list, sore knee, tight groin, sore shoulder with Manny, the bad finger. Who knows what 6 other things Manny might be playing with because the guy's so tough. He just plays. But it also sends a message to the rest of the guys of, hey, what's hurting me so much that I can't go out there and compete today? And sometimes you need that over the course of a 162-game season because, trust me, there are days where you show up and you are just physically beat down. You're tired, you're sore, mentally fatigued, and it's really easy to just say, I'm just I'm not going to throw it in today, but, man, I'm going to pace myself a little bit. And then you look over at some of your teammates and, this guy's going through the same thing. I just saw him spend an hour in the training room getting his body worked on, and he's going to go out there and he's going to ball tonight. What am I complaining about, right? So there's some of that mentality that you want to have, but it also has to be tempered, as we were just talking about, of, okay, but when is it you're actually not helping the team because you're threatening to hurt yourself or you're not playing at 100% or even close to it. It's been the same debate for many, many years. And one of the things I've come to respect most about Manny, along with the Hall of Fame numbers, is his ability to post. And I know he takes great pride in it. And I know it sends a message to the rest of those guys in the clubhouse of, you know what, I'm hurt, I'm aching, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm posting. How about you? So that's the internal debate that goes on. And, as a manager, you see those things going on. Craig certainly understands it, having been a member of a bullpen, especially where guys are constantly being, wear and tear over the course of the season, and you take great pride in still taking the ball. And that's just part of the toughness that comes with being a major league player for 162 games, but it has to be tempered and balanced. And that's the ongoing debate that consistently goes on between players, training staffs, coaches, and they all try to do the best they can to try to find that balance, but it isn't always easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy decision for a lot of them. Bob, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the trip. I know it's not a vacation. You're out there working. Try to stay cool out there in Florida. It's hot here in San Diego too, but we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Let's see the boys play some hardball against the Rays. Here we go.
Looking forward to it. Bob Scanlan joining us, the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not big game banking. It's better. When we come back, Jeff Passan was on with Ben and Woods. What do you have to say about the Dodgers and their ownership stuff? We'll get to that next. $11 o'clock on a Thursday. We still got a lot of guests joining us, especially in the back end of the show at noon. Mark Neville from Sports San Diego, CEO of Sports San Diego, his big announcement today about another bowl game coming to San Diego. It's good to have the bowl game back. We'll have all the details about their big announcement from earlier today. So we will get to that with Mark Neville at the noon hour. We will also be joined by brand new San Diego FC winger in Elias Achouri. He will join us at 1 o'clock. Eddie Brown will get you ready for your fantasy drafts at 1:25. I have a draft today, and I have to say it again. You know what? I'm taking to heart. I don't want to make this sound like I'm not. I'm making fun of it because I'm not. Like Booney said today on the roundtable, his dad said, life's unfair. I gotta try to draft while coaching a high school football game. So I have everything set up for a potential good auto draft, Frank. You know what? The only way that anybody competes in this fantasy league against me, they have to try to hamper me all the time, Frank. That's what it is. That's what it is. I think it's personally out to make sure I have a disadvantage on the draft. God forbid we draft during Gwyn and Chris's show. God forbid we draft on a day that Tony's got to do a game. God forbid we do it too late. Otherwise, John Flynn at Cal. I got to get up early. God forbid. Can we not draft when I'm coaching a high school football? Oh, come on. You could just. Why do you even have to? Why just draft while you're coaching? I kid.
Yes, because that's how that works.
Yeah, that's how that works. Yeah, let me just be on my phone like this. Hang on, Coach. What's the play? Just give me a second. I have more important things to get to.
The play is to draft a quarterback in the third round. That is what the play. Oh, you meant what you guys are doing? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are doing. I kid. This usually happens. Tony has to do it on an off day. Fair enough. Unfortunately, this is the only Thursday game I have. So this is the only. I literally said, I was like, guys, I could literally draft any other day, at any other time. I just can't do Thursday of this week because we have a high school football game, a JV game, which continues to get pushed back. So I might actually get to be able to get the couple first rounds in. But I have it all lined up, and then I got it's a keeper league. I'm going to ask Eddie Brown if he likes my keeper or not. Our keeper rule, Frank, is you could keep anybody that you drafted after the 5th round in the previous year's draft, as long as that player was on your team the entire year, and then you can't do that. You can't use that player for more than 3 years in a row. So I'm going to go with, and I don't care if my strategy's out there. Maybe they're listening, maybe they're not. But the keepers are like private. I thought about one, and then I was looking at the wrong draft preview, so I was like, oh, I got to get that one off there. I got a good spot in the 10th round using my keeper. I'm gonna ask Eddie Brown if that's a good idea. We'll talk about that later on.
I have a friend who does a dynasty.
That is draft. Psychotic, dude. I don't know. No way.
It's working for him though. Like he traded last year. He got off to a bad start, so he traded for a bunch of guys who were hurt last year that are usually really good. like Malik Neighbors was one of them. So he's excited and set up for this season.
So we'll get to Eddie Brown later on in the show. I saw a Dynasty League. Well, here's the other deal. Like one of my buddies, one of my buddies was like, "Hey, do you want to join a Dynasty League?" And I was like, "Is this the league where it takes you like guys like 5 days to draft?" And he said, "Yeah." I'm like, "No. Thank you for the invite, but no." I mean, he was drafted like you would have like all this time to pick because you were drafting like your rosters were massive. And since it was going to take a long time, everybody had like long clocks. So you had like a day to draft per. It's like some guys would take up the whole day. Like, how do you not? I know you're like working on other stuff and you're like waiting to check. I mean, I would get my pick in so fast. So fast. Anyway, let's get to what Jeff Passan talked about on Ben and Woods today. I thought it was a very interesting conversation. Obviously, a lot of things circling about the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we're going to talk about what Bill Plaschke said here in the next segment. But Jeff Passan, baseball insider for ESPN, joined Ben and Woods this morning. And obviously, like, it took him some time. Everybody wanted to hear from him, and it's funny that this is bringing up that Jeff Passan wanted to make sure he had something right, Frank. Maybe not just posting it immediately and writing an article and, just and going with something that was fabricated from an Instagram account and labeling that as your source. And then, maybe a school getting mad at you and then revoking the credential and everybody's got to be like, "Oh, I can't believe you pulled the credential." And yeah.
Well, I mean, also, just to put out a tweet completely saying you said something. Well, he's saying you didn't say something that you did, and now you're the butt of every joke and made up. Is what it is.
Here's what took Jeff Passan so long on reporting about the Mark Walters situation.
Yeah, I think the cliffhanger was sort of intentional because this is early in the game, guys. Like, this is, I know a lot of Padres fans were like, earlier in the week, why isn't Jeff Passan saying something on this? Why isn't he commenting? And it's because, A, this is like an incredibly complicated story, but more important than that, B, I wanted the first thing that I write on this specific topic to be measured, because this is really complicated. And for, I understand what people's instincts are. Like, you gravitate toward the Dodgers are great at all sorts of things, and they have all this money, and it feels like they're so arrogant about it. And so anything tied to them either cheating or doing things incorrectly, we're going to jump right to that conclusion.
Sure.
I didn't want to do that because it's not what I see right now. Like, for anyone to sit around and say Mark Walter has to sell the Dodgers, I don't see that yet. A lot of it is going to depend on, frankly, Guggenheim's reputation on Wall Street. Like, their debt is trading around 75 cents on the dollar right now. They're looking to do what are essentially stock buybacks. I don't know how that ends, or I don't know how this investigation ends. I think one thing, guys, maybe the thing, like, beyond any of the criticism of me, which in a lot of ways, frankly, is fair, and we can get to that. But the most important thing, I think, like, anyone who takes any sort of joy in this or schadenfreude, I would love if they could just step back for a second and see what the actual story is here. That's the reason, more than anything, more than having to fill the calls of people, why haven't you commented on this? The reason that we did this show is because this goes so far beyond Mark Walter and Guggenheim. And I'm not trying to minimize any alleged involvement they have here. What I'm trying to say is, in reporting this story and trying to understand what was going on, because I was super unfamiliar with the finance elements of it, I learned that there's a really interesting thing happening in the insurance industry. And a lot of people are scared because the investments involve money that grandmas and grandpas are relying on for their retirement. And that's why I wanted to do this show, because a career fraud examiner like Tom Gover is an important voice for the people who really matter here, and that's the policyholders. And I don't know ultimately if there was any criminal activity that went on with Mark Walter. Everything might have an explanation and be above board, but the questions that Mark Walter is facing have much deeper implications than Mark Walter or the Dodgers or the Lakers or everyone involved in this. And look, if the price for people understanding that was getting community noted and shamefully deleting it, I didn't think the community note was fair because I didn't think it actually reflected my position on it, and I shouldn't have deleted it. That was stupid of me. But I also, like, at the end of the day, what this has taught me is that I just need to communicate my points better. I thought I had, and I still believe a lot of what I believed, but I didn't communicate it well enough, and that's on me.
I do like the accountability, Frank. I mean, it's funny.
It is good, but again, the here's why so many people get on guys like Jeff Passan and guys like Bob Nightingale. It's because you guys post so often and so quickly about the positives of the Dodgers and post negatively about their perceived enemies and are so appearingly in the pocket of the Dodgers and of Major League Baseball that when something bad happens to them and you don't respond immediately in the same vigor that you do when something happens positively towards them, that's why you get the extra scrutiny. That's why you get the tweets of, oh, why hasn't Jeff Passan posted on this yet? Why is it taking Jeff Passan so long to report on this? That's why. And I agree, and I'm happy that he tried to get a lot of this story as accurate as he possibly can. And yes, a lot of this does have more to do with insurance, not necessarily fraud, but mismanaging of insurance financing. And it just so happens to be that the guy who's in the center of this just so happens to be the owner of the LA Dodgers. It's when you shine such a bright light on the Dodgers when they're doing good, and then the whole industry goes radio silent when something like this happens. That's where that scrutiny comes from. And that's why so many people are on you when it takes you so long to put a story like this out.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, I mean, you want to get it right. I mean, a lot of people they're still talking about the thing with TCU football and like the whole credential get pulled thing, which I think is a different kind of conversation. Because that situation like could have potentially led to like a defamation lawsuit that one of the players that was involved with that situation wanted to do. But you got to make sure that you got everything right. And that's honestly why I trust Jeff Passan a lot of the times when it comes to baseball stuff over a lot of the reporters, because usually he waits until he knows it's legit. Again, I still think with this entire situation, and we're gonna hear what we're gonna read about what Bill Plaschke mentioned in his column from earlier in the week. I think a lot of this more so affects the insurance companies that Mark Walter owns, as Jeff Passan, than anything in terms of like he was using this to all funnel into the Dodgers. I think a lot of people want that to be true to make it like to justify saying like the Dodgers cheated and all this other stuff. I don't necessarily think that is going to be the case. But who knows? I mean, maybe it'll come out later. I mean, there's going to be more investigation, but like they have a big problem on their hands. They got to come up with like $20 billion by the end of the year. And I don't know how they're going to do that.
No, like I said, this is an insurance industry story that just so happens to revolve around the owner of the Dodgers. That's all this is.
Let's get to the next thing that Jeff Passan talked about, and it's on if the Dodgers and their advantages need to be reined in a little bit, as we talk about, obviously, labor negotiations. Now with this, Mark Walter situation, there's a lot going on with that. Here's what Jeff Passan had to say about, is it too unfair for the Dodgers?
I don't think that's unreasonable at all. No, I think that the gap between the top and the bottom is a staggering number, and that the duty of a league and of all of its stakeholders and all of the people who care about what it looks like going forward is to find that balance between everyone being competitive enough and everyone being the exact same. I don't think everybody being held to the exact same standards is necessarily, just in terms of like every payroll is within this small band. I don't think that necessarily is what a league needs to promote competitive balance. I think we have quite a bit of competitive balance right now, frankly. But can I look at the television contract for a second and explain like my thoughts on it up until the investigation? Because if this is unfair or unreasonable, please tell me. I'm always learning in real time where my opinions on things meet with the general fan bases and trying to understand that gap in between the two. I looked at the television contract like it was an anomaly that was worth a good chunk of money that let them go above and beyond where the limits of spending had been previously pretty static. And what made it notable is they got so many stars, right? They went out and spent on Ohtani and Snell and Yamamoto and Diaz and Tucker and Scott.
Now, yeah.
But yeah, last night they traded for. Yeah, same thing though. The thing that I kept looking at, guys, is that the Mets were paying the same kind of money at the same time. And part of my thinking was, if Steve Cohen is an owner in Major League Baseball and is willing what he's willing to do with his money, shouldn't that encourage others to do the same? Maybe not to the same extent as the Dodgers and the Mets, but to a much greater extent than a lot of their peers, because the truth is, guys, more often than not, when you spend, you win. There's a guy named Ethan Houlihan who runs a very accurate payroll tracker, and I went and looked at payrolls, and right now, the teams that are making the playoffs, their payroll ranks are 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you've got Milwaukee at 19, Tampa at 25, the White Sox at 27, and Cleveland at 30. That's a really big advantage. That tells me that spending helps. What this also tells me, though, is all this time when I've been talking about teams doing what they can to emulate the Dodgers, I want to be clear. I wasn't saying other teams can be the Dodgers. Like, you guys know me and know me well enough to know that I'm not that stupid.
I do.
Like clearly, guys, I didn't communicate that well enough. Like, whatever my intention was, the interpretation was different. Whatever nuance I was going for, and that's why I got community noted, because I looked at this as a much more nuanced thing. Others did not. And you know what? You learn from that. You recognize that specificity matters, and that I have such a privileged job, and my voice matters. I'm incredibly lucky, but that means expectations for me are higher, and learning from this is how I get better at things.
The Met shade was so unnecessary.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't like Jeff Passan. I like Jeff Passan. I don't like Jeff Passan. I like Jeff Passan.
No.
I don't like Jeff Passan. Frank is just fighting it right now. You're like this, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then you're like, and then you're like, oh, okay. No, you're like the meme with the girl like drinking the soda.
Yeah. No, the end of that. The end of that especially was like, I didn't mean that everyone can be like the Dodgers. And then why have you said that or along the same lines hundreds of times over the last couple of months?
We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll hear the last thing from Jeff Passan, but I have my thoughts on that as well. I just think I would have phrased it like this, and we'll talk about that on the other side. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking, it's better. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, standing as number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Before we get to the final thing from the Jeff Passan interview as he was on with Ben and Woods, I just feel like the last thing we talked about was, Jeff Passan was talking about how, I didn't say that everybody, can be like the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's been on a real face-saving clarification, walking back tour here as of late.
A lot of reporters are like that, right? They, and everybody has their biases as well. I think you have to understand that with this new form of journalism. Everybody, and this is why you have to get content from a lot of different people. But for Jeff Passan, and a lot of these reporters, they continue to have the player side of things, of the sense of everybody can do what the Dodgers are doing. And then he goes and says, well, I didn't say everybody could be the Dodgers. I think it would be a lot better for these national reporters if they want to call out the teams that don't spend money. I think they got to go off of the, when Forbes releases the percentage of revenue that teams spend on payroll. Because to me, that is how you can compare these teams to each other. To say, why aren't the Padres spending $1 billion on payroll like the Dodgers? Anybody can spend $1 billion on payroll. It's nonsensical. But what you could say is, it's hey, anybody, the Chicago Cubs could probably spend a more percentage of their revenue on their payroll like the Dodgers do. They don't need to be complaining about this. To me, it's the percentage of the revenue spent on payroll. You're never going to get accurate numbers because they're never going to show you the books. But if you were going to lay out that anybody could do what the Dodgers do, to me, it's got to be about the percentage of your revenue going to payroll, more so than just saying I don't know why the Guardians aren't spending $500 million on a payroll. What? How dare they? How dare they? Should they be spending more? Probably. But if you only make $100 million in revenue, you can't really be upset when that team isn't spending more than $100 million on a roster.
And again, you can't even use the excuse of, oh, well, I'm limited in characters on Twitter. I can't go through a whole lengthy explanation. Yes, you can. You're verified on Twitter. You can write a novel. There's no character limits anymore. For some schlub like me who doesn't have a blue check mark or who is unwilling to pay for it, I do have a character limit. Guys like Jeff Passan don't. They can write a novel if they so choose. And again, especially in this world of social media and how everything spreads like wildfire, perception is reality. The perception that the baseball media, especially, and certain individuals specifically, the perception of them is that they are all in the pocket of the Dodgers, that they are there to do the Dodgers bidding as far as a positive publicity. Be that true or not, that is the perception right now of media and journalists in baseball. And that, whether, again, true or not, that becomes reality. If you are perceived a certain way, that is reality. And because people are so dumb and stubborn, that it takes an exorbitant amount of effort and time to try to change that perception and make people see it, which is why it's so important that once you say it for the first time, it needs to be right and needs to be how you meant to say it. Because you're not going to get a chance to, one, correct yourself, and two, if you do, no one's going to listen.
I just think there's teams two teams that I think about all the time when I look at that graphic, and I'd have to go look up the graphic again, but I remember these two teams. The Red Sox and the Cubs do not spend a high percentage of their revenue on payroll. They still have high payrolls, but as much as it's easy to just yell at the teams that have a $70 million payroll, I don't think it's relatively fair that they are the ones that are the problem and not teams like the Red Sox and the Cubs, who could definitely be spending up there with the Dodgers or close to it, but they choose to spend a small percentage of their revenue on payroll. They don't get a bad rap because they're spending what is an adequate amount, according to some experts, of what's an adequate amount to spend on a roster. I think the salary cap, if that comes into play, eliminates all of this. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's why another reason why I think you should have it. But, to say that everybody can spend like them is very much nonsensical. And we've talked about that enough. Let's get to the last clip because we do got to, kind of pick up the pace here. Jeff Passan talking about how more teams should be like the Padres and not the Dodgers. This kind of fills in the rest of what we've talked about.
Can I tell you what I meant to say?
Sure.
Here it is.
And what I should have said. And oh my God, there's a chance this is going to piss people off when they listen to it, but I have to do this anyway. What I meant is that teams, not that they can do what the Dodgers do, because of course they can. I want them to act like the Padres. The San Diego Padres said, screw the Dodgers, screw Los Angeles, screw the money. We want to be the ones to take them down. We want to face the challenge. Everyone else who's scared of them, you're wusses. The Padres' identity, guys, used to be that they were a mediocre franchise that was stuck in neutral. Now, after they've gone out and spent, after they've tried to win, after they've prioritized going for it, the Padres' identity is that they're one of the most interesting teams in baseball, that they have true franchise icons in their prime, that their ballpark is incredible, that they own the city of San Diego. And I'm so sick of people saying that Jose Feliciano and Kwanzaa Jones paid $3.9 billion because it's a one-team city. No, screw that. It's because Peter Seidler's vision worked. Can we all not acknowledge that he built it and they came?
Right.
That is badass. And San Diego has been the worthiest adversary of the Los Angeles Dodgers over the past 5 seasons, precisely because they were doing what I, in my head, was trying to say other teams can and should do.
If your problem has been, if you shouldn't have said, why can't every team do what the Dodgers are doing? If that's not what you meant and not what you should have said, why have you been saying that for the last year or so?
I know it's like, I don't know why we're trying to change it right now. Like to change the narrative all of a sudden. It's like, well, I didn't actually say that. Well, you did. What I meant was, well, then why didn't you just say what you meant the first time? I wanted to be like the Padres. It
goes back to perception is reality.
I think you could infer that that's what Jeff Passan meant a lot of the times, but he's flat out saying anybody could do this. It's like, it's not. Let's phrase it a little bit better. And maybe from here on out he'll change that.
And he also said this is what makes it feel so disingenuous, because what I meant to say was everyone should do what the Padres are doing, which is say, screw you and go after the Dodgers. That's the diametric opposite of what the Dodgers have done. You have been, the last year or so, you have been parading the Dodgers for doing what every other team should do. But now you're saying you should do what the Padres have done, which is go and try to take the Dodgers down. And that's actually what you meant. That's the opposite of what you've been saying. So were you lying for the last year, or were you lying on San Diego radio about what the Padres have been doing is actually what's good for baseball?
Yeah, well, I guess time will tell. Let's see what happens with the next report that he has. I will say he actually has brought up the Mark Walter situation, unlike a lot of other journalists out there in Major League Baseball. So we'll keep an eye on that. Bill Plaschke does not paint a very good light or a positive future for the Dodgers based on this situation. He wrote a column about this in the LA Times earlier this week. We'll talk about that when we come back. Opening week on 97 through the Fans, presented by Hands Free Skechers Slip-ins. Just step in and go. College football starts today. The FCS starts today. There's a couple of FCS games on today. FBS action will start over the weekend. We will be airing TCU, North Carolina at 9 in the morning, live from Ireland. They're going to be playing in Ireland this weekend.
So to anyone who says Braden doesn't have reach at this station.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, just know.
Yeah. Frogs play here now. The way that ad reads is like the Horned Frogs. Our big voice guy.
It's the emphasis on foo or fighters.
Foo Fighters. So good. Christopher Walken on Silent Live. Foo Fighters. 97.3. The Frog. Now that could be confused with our sister station. In Temecula, it also airs Padre games, which is also called The Frog. It's a country station, though. Anyway, I digress on that. We're going to talk about this Dodger situation in a second. Do want to get your phone calls, though. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Kevin in Chula Vista. Kevin, what's going on?
Yeah, I was going to suspend my comments on Manny because you brought up the Dodgers here, but I think is a heck of a lot more important at this point. So, with this Walters thing, there's enough reports out there, and I think you've heard the allegations of somehow this guy being involved in dirty money that somehow allegedly filtered itself into the Dodger organization, correct? That's what we've heard. And so there has to be an investigation on this, and it has to be transparent, because if in fact it is proven at some point, and the Dodgers should be willing to put up or shut up on this. If they're clean, they're clean. If they're not, then there needs to be a penalty here, a big penalty. This is one of the worst, potentially, Braden, one of the worst scandals in sports history, if that's the case. Because that tells me they bought a whole lot of players with dirty money, and that's not right. It's not legal, as you well know. This has to be ascertained one way or another. Let's get this thing looked at, cleaned up one way or another. I think that's fair.
I think so too. I'm hesitant to say dirty money. I think right now, and it's kind of sneaky, and this is more for the sense of not labeling the proper avenues of where the money was going, and the federal government's like, you got to clean this up. And there's no criminal charges that have been filed. They're just under investigation. We'll see if there's more information that comes out. But it transitions us into what Bill Plaschke said in his column about this could be significantly bad for the Dodgers. Now, this is all along the lines of this column going, if this happens, then this happens, which could lead to this happening and then this happening, and none of it's good. It doesn't paint a very good picture for them. But Frank, as we discuss this, and you can follow along as we go, it's a lot of if this happens in a row.
Yes. And
I'm not necessarily sure the first domino of this is actually going to fall. But essentially what Bill Plaschke is saying, the Dodgers should care about this, and their fans should care about this, because in the reality of the situation, the Dodgers are successful, and they've been successful really since Guggenheim took over the group, which is, of course, affiliated with Mark Walter, right? The whole argument of Bill Plaschke's column was the fact that Mark Walter isn't just some owner of the Dodgers. He is the major reason why the current version of the Dodgers exist. How about this? Since the Guggenheim ownership group purchased the franchise in 2012, the Dodgers have won 12 of the last 13 NL West titles. They've won 3 World Series championships, 2.5. They built one of baseball's most aggressive organizations. They spent at a level that almost no other team can match, and they continued investing in both major league talent and the farm system. The current Dodgers model isn't just having a smart front office. This is something that we've talked about. It's about having the financial resources to make almost every baseball decision possible.
Yes.
This organization can sign elite free agents. this organization can acquire expensive players. They can absorb major contracts. This organization can spend aggressively internationally. This organization can maintain a deep farm system. They can make blockbuster trades. They can invest heavily in infrastructure and player development. I mean, Andrew Friedman might be the architect of this particular situation and this cog or machine, I should say, that makes up the Los Angeles Dodgers. But Bill Plaschke argues in his column that Walter kind of provides the financial foundation to make all of this possible. Like the fact that they're actually acknowledging this in the LA Times is just proving exactly why Padre fans have been complaining about this for the last handful of years, and baseball fans in general. You cannot do everything that they do if you do not have the financial backing. And this organization did not have the financial backing until Mark Walter took over. And if Mark Walter is getting a lot of his money or moving it around and it's something funny going on to the point where he has to sell, there's no guarantee that they're still going to have the same financial backing to do everything that they need to do.
But Braden, everyone can do what the Dodgers are doing.
That's right.
I mean, come on. This is, again, they're not going to go down some deep, dark pit here immediately. It might be there's a potential that if it does happen, it could be a slow tumble down into an abyss. But Plaschke's was also, if I remember seeing it right, was also more or less insinuating that Ohtani could end up leaving Los Angeles.
So here's where he gets to this. According to Bill Plaschke's column, a potential ownership change could create a lot of questions involving two of the most important figures in that franchise. Who are the two most important figures in the Dodgers franchise? It's Shohei Ohtani and it's Andrew Friedman. The column suggests that Friedman could potentially leave if new ownership doesn't provide the kind of situation or incentives he wants. The concern is that the Dodgers could lose the executive largely responsible for building their baseball operation and the owner that made it financially possible for them to do all of these things. Even more so, Shohei Ohtani has a clause that we talked about when he signed the deal that we've talked about a couple of times. He has a deal in his contract that says if there is no continued presence of Mark Walter and or Andrew Friedman, he can opt out of his contract and become a free agent, in which Bill Plaschke's column says Ohtani could have options regarding his contractual future. Walter sells. Friedman says, I'm out of here. Ohtani goes, they're gone. I'm gone. Now, what do you have as a Los Angeles Dodgers organization with a new ownership group that probably have to spend $10 to $13 billion in order to buy the organization? And by the way, now all of a sudden you're going to have to try to match the funds that the Dodgers have been using to potentially to build the team that they have. And you're going to have to figure out a way to bring Ohtani back. And you're not going to have Andrew Friedman. I don't think all of those dominoes are going to fall, but it definitely starts with the first one, which I think is the biggest one, or the most important in terms of falling here, and that's whether or not Mark Walter will sell the Dodgers. We'll see what the pressure is with that in the next couple of months. But Bill Plaschke lays out a very bleak picture. I don't necessarily know how realistic I believe that could be the case, but worst case scenario about this Dodgers organization is they lose the guy that has given them the financial edge to be the team that they are, which leads to the guy that used that money to build the roster is no longer with the organization either, because he leaves, depending on who the new owners are. With those two gentlemen leaving, all of a sudden your best player goes, I'm out of here because my contract says I can leave. And then you have a new ownership group that just potentially have spent $10 to $13 billion to buy the organization, having to come up with those funds. Oh, and by the way, Frank, look at all this money you owe players now down the road because everybody took these deferred contracts.
And you're going to have less of it because if Ohtani goes, how many of those Japanese sponsors go as well?
Probably a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you still have guys like Roki Sasaki there who just went on the IL with a blister.
Yamamoto,
and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. But a lot of those sponsors are tied to Shohei Ohtani. So there goes another way to be able to pay all those guys. Instead of deferring money, now you're losing that. Now you're changing ownership. You have less money to spend, period. Now you're going to lose Japanese sponsorship to further be able to pay these guys.
That is like to me, that domino effect and trail for the Dodgers is the worst level ever. Like that is the worst possible scenario.
That's
for
DEFCON
that
5.
Yes, for that organization. I mean that's no, that'd be DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1 is the highest maximum readiness, imminent war situation. That would be the worst case scenario for that organization. Would I be upset about that? Probably not. I don't think a lot of people in baseball would be that upset about it. But this could potentially be a massive problem for that organization. Now, as of right now, it's status quo. Nobody's selling anything. Everything's good, fine and dandy. But I think when you look at it, I think the main thing was, I just think you just assume the Dodgers have been like just dominant for so long. You forget that they weren't like before 2012. They weren't like this dominant team. They were good, right? They had a lot of dark years mixed in there too. But this turned into a way different organization when Mark Walter and Guggenheim took over and made it, we're going to outspend everybody and be super aggressive. I mean, it even said it in the column. You have never seen any team operate like this in the history of baseball. The fact that a new ownership group could come in here and replicate what has been going on, where you don't even know how legit it has been because of now these allegations, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to replicate this moving forward if, in fact, Mark Walter and Guggenheim sell their share of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I put that a low percentage point, but if they do, that is extremely bad news for the Dodgers, and I think Bill Plaschke laid it out in his column this week.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of the scenarios, and I think it depends on how far. One, if Jeannie Buss drags this Lakers situation out long enough,
she's going to be kicking and screaming with this the whole time.
Walter gets desperate enough as the dates for the money start to get closer. There is a real possibility that the Dodgers potentially do go up for sale. It depends on a lot of those. It depends on a lot of external things. And again, this is all relating to his insurance. This is his insurance businesses. This is not a baseball thing. This is not a person. This is not, I saw somebody mention it in the chat. This is not like a Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme kind of thing. This is all from him and his insurance companies. So there's no real pressure on Major League Baseball. It's not like he was doing anything nefarious or was caught up in something that was erroneously illegal that Major League Baseball would force him to sell. It's nothing like that. I am a believer that there is a point where I think it will get bad enough that him being forced to sell the Dodgers to be in good standing with the government again does become a reality. I think it's a low percentage chance, but I do think that it will eventually come to that, me personally. And a lot of those dominoes that Bill Plaschke laid out, if those start falling, those are going to lead to some very, very dark days in the future for the Dodgers.
I also think, like, just with this particular situation, I mean, think about, Jeannie Buss is not going to give up the Lakers without a fight. And she's got her two brothers are now part of the, reportedly a part of the Padres organization. Holding this thing up is, this is this is going to be. I just don't know how they're going to come up with $20 billion by the end of the year. I don't know how they're going to do that. They're obviously
with a big chunk of that being held up by somebody who's completely unrelated.
But that's not even. But the thing is, the Lakers sell for him is not even like a huge chunk.
No, it's not even going to be the 12.
It doesn't even put a dent in what they owe, including the Chelsea stuff. I mean, come on, like. It's going to be interesting to watch. Oh, and by the way, you got a CBA going on, too, during the offseason. See how that goes. When we come back, Mark Neville will join us. San Diego getting another bowl game or a bowl game back. New lunchtime hour on the Fan. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, setting us over on Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. We got a lot of great stuff to get to still on the Braden Surprenant Show, and 2 hours left. Still a lot of guests to get to as well. Talking a lot of different things under the sun. We'll have to get to our sports thread here in just a little bit. But first, we do want to bring on our next guest. Big announcement today in San Diego, and Sports San Diego just keeps getting, they just, you know what they did? They keep going headliner, hit after another. And they got another one, hit another one out of the park with their new announcement that came out earlier this morning at 10 in the morning. And to talk more about that is Sports San Diego CEO Mark Neville joining us on the SDCCU Fan Hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. Continue to put out the big hits there, Mark. Another big announcement today. Another great day for Sports San Diego. What was the big announcement today?
Yeah, it's been a pretty good week here, Braden. You know, having the NASCAR San Diego weekend coming back next year, and then today we had three announcements. Actually, we first of all we announced the game date for the Holiday Bowl, and that's going to be on Monday afternoon, December 28th, 2 p.m. kickoff. First time ever that we're going to be kicking off in the afternoon. We'll see the fourth quarter. We'll have a little sunset action going on, and then and with that, we announced the matchup is similar to last year, where we got legacy Pac-12 teams on one side, and then the ACC on the other. So making the coast-to-coast national matchup there. And then we announced, you talked about the SDCCU hotline. Well, we're bringing back the SDCCU Poinsettia Bowl. And so at 10-year layoff from there, the game ran from 05 to 16. And we're bringing it back. A lot of things were happening in the college football, college athletics world, and a few other things that made it so that it was a great opportunity for us to drive more room nights during a slow period. That game is going to be December 23rd, Wednesday night, 4:30, and it's going to feature the Aztecs Conference, the Pac-12, against the legacy Pac-12. And so really good announcements for those two games. And then we also announced we're on we had a new network partner. We're on the CW, which was very exciting for us. I talked about, we got the Pac-12 and the ACC and CW's partners with those two conferences, and it all worked out. This is something we've been working on for a long time, worked with a lot of groups and partners to make it happen. And for San Diego, the Redcoats are going to be busy this fall, really, with the basketball events we have, and now with the two bowl games.
Exciting news, obviously, and there's a lot of different things that happen behind the scenes. I'm sure a lot of stressful days for you, Mark. It's probably a nice little bit of a sigh of relief knowing that you make it to a day like today. But in terms of all these events, I mean, you talked about NASCAR. You guys continue to think outside the box and bring great events here to San Diego. But, with the Holiday Bowl, moving to Snapdragon Stadium, the success it's always had, and the success that you guys had with the Poinsettia Bowl in the past, when did this conversation start again about, let's bring a second bowl game back to San Diego? What was the process like? And, maybe it was something that never, that was never on your radar. On your radar.
Candidly, a year ago, it was not on our radar. It wasn't until the college football playoff extended the 12-team playoff, which set everything in motion. And with the LA Bowl going dark and the Pac-12 getting the conference up and running July 1st, San Diego State being in that conference, and again, trying to drive more hotel room nights and economic benefit for the city, it was a natural for us to do this. It was an opportunity that we didn't want to pass up on.
How does this process work with the bowl? I mean, it's just fascinating, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, you want to start a bowl game. You got to get in conversation with conferences, pitch the idea. What's that process like of what you can tell us of, creating a bowl game and getting the right teams involved? I know you guys had a holding pattern with the college football playoff for a long time. How was the process leading up to this?
There's a lot of puzzle pieces that we had to put together, if you can imagine, especially with the playoff getting extended, it used to be really easy for us to say we had the ACC against the Pac-12 or the Big Ten against the Mountain West, whatever in the old days. It's not that clear cut now. With the Holiday Bowl, we have the ACC on one side, and then it's the legacy Pac-12. So we're working with the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 on the matchup. With the Poinsettia Bowl, it's clear cut. We got the new Pac-12 on one side, but on the other side, we have former Pac-12 teams. We can't even say legacy necessarily because Oregon State and Washington State are part of the new Pac-12 on the Poinsettia. But for the Holiday, Oregon State, Washington State are part of the legacy Pac-12. So it is a lot of really, I confuse myself sometimes when I'm going through all this. But we had to, we worked with all the conferences, the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, and the Pac-12, of course, to get that going. And then, getting San Diego County Credit Union on board, that was really, believe it or not, an easy conversation. I sat down with Nathan Schmidt back in March, who is an EVP and the Chief Experience Officer for SDCCU. And I mentioned, you guys sponsored the Poinsettia Bowl for the first 12 years. We're bringing it back. What do you think about a 13th year? And without pause, he said, let's get it done. And so, we're very fortunate. We got a lot of friends out there, and then talk about the TV network too. We had now we have CW doing both bowl games for us. And so that was a big piece of the puzzle. The sponsorship was a big piece of the puzzle. The conferences are a big piece of the puzzle. And so, it took a while. I mean, we really started this conversation, I would say, in earnest in early March. And it took us this long to get it announced.
I know you said you confuse yourself on this, but with Washington State, Oregon State specifically, those are teams that do they qualify as the legacy or the Pac-12, or is this a situation where they could potentially qualify as both for the Poinsettia Bowl / Holiday Bowl?
So for the Poinsettia Bowl, they are a Pac-12 team. They're Pac-12 teams. They are not part of the legacy Pac-12 because if they're a legacy Pac-12 team, they've already played all the Pac-12 teams and we're not going to do a rematch.
Right.
So they are part of the Pac-12. Whereas with the Holiday Bowl, they are part of the legacy. So it's the ACC versus the legacy. They could play. So conceivably, I was just talking. In fact, I'm with the guy from the ACC right now. It's conceivable they could have 3 teams here in San Diego for the bowl games. They could have, the ACC is a lock for the Holiday Bowl, and then in the Poinsettia, they are part of Stanford and Cal are part of the legacy, right?
Right.
So that can get there, and then now I'm confusing myself. There is a way they could have 3 teams here in San Diego for the bowl games.
Wow, that's crazy. And so with the Pac-12, the new Pac-12, this is the case just because the new Pac-12 would be playing the legacy Pac-12, so therefore those 2 particular teams, Oregon State and Washington State, would
Correct.
be part of the new Pac-12. But it's kind of cool because
now you're getting it.
Yeah, it's a lot of moving parts right now, and I just know, Mark, as a college football fan, you got to be ready for anything at this point in time. You never know what's going to change with college athletics, and I'm sure that even affects you guys on the daily. But it's cool. Obviously, a lot of people still don't fully understand that Sports San Diego is about driving tourism and getting people here to San Diego that are not necessarily San Diegans. I know a lot of people always go, why aren't you doing stuff for the local schools? And you guys have now with some of the new events that are taking place. But I'm sure a lot of people are probably excited that one of the conferences that is locked into this bowl is the conference that San Diego State is in, that they could also be part of this bowl game as well.
And how fun would it be to have San Diego State in the Poinsettia Bowl this year against an old Pac-12 school that could be USC, UCLA, Washington? I mean, it's going to be a great – if San Diego State is in the Poinsettia Bowl, that would be pretty magical. But that said, San Diego, the Pac-12 has a lot of great football schools and a lot of great fan bases. So it's a very regional game, you know, and again, the stars aligned to bring this one back. And I'm very excited about the Poinsettia Bowl.
I'm excited about the potential matchups too. You mentioned, I mean, you could have Boise State, you could have Fresno State. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the Pac-12, and them potentially going against a legacy Pac-12 school is pretty cool nonetheless. Mark, for a lot of people interested in this, for more information about the SDCCU Poinsettia Bowl or about the Holiday Bowl, where can they start looking for, you know, tickets for the wintertime, and where can they start looking up for more information?
It's very easy. Go to holidaybowl.com and poinsettiabowl.com. And just so you know, Holiday Bowl ticket holders are going to have first crack at both the Holiday and the Poinsettia. We are going to go on sale to the public with both games on September 10th. But if you go to holidaybowl.com and poinsettiabowl.com, you can sign up to get the notices that you're first in line to get those tickets.
That's all great news, Mark. I appreciate the time. But before I let you go, because I know you're a busy man, you know, the NASCAR thing, I know you mentioned that today, or they had that this week. You had a big week this week. What came about with NASCAR? What was the reception, and how excited are you to have that come back to San Diego next year?
That was a really good day. You know, it wasn't 100% it was going to come back. You know, I mean, the decision goes all the way up to the Pentagon on that one. So we knew it was a success. It was a great turnout. The event was first class. NASCAR learned a lot in terms of the production of it. You know, I mean, they got 99% of it right. There's a couple things they're going to fix, you know, it's the food and beverage and things like that. And, you know, Amy Lupo, the president of NASCAR San Diego, is the best in the business. And so to have that coming back late July, early August, that was a big day for San Diego. It's a lot of hotel room nights. It's a lot of commerce. It's a lot of visitation, a lot of eyeballs. Again, I've said it before. I don't think I've ever seen downtown San Diego look as good as it did during NASCAR weekend on television. So yeah, really great news for us. All of San Diego should be happy about that one.
Mark, appreciate the time as always. I'm sure we'll have you on in the next couple of months as we start ramping up even more events. I know there's a lot of summer of events that are going on for Sports San Diego, but continue success, continue the good work, and we appreciate everything that you guys do at Sports San Diego to bring some great events here to San Diego.
Thank you, Braden.
Mark Neville joining us on the SDCCU Fan Hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking. It's better. Big news today. We got the Poinsettia Bowl back here in San Diego. I'm excited for that. I was trying to that was like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme where he's trying to figure out what's going on with the bowl games. But a lot of great potential matchups for the Poinsettia Bowl coming up.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun, and to have a second bowl game in San Diego, it's things can only get better from here.
I'm glad they got a TV partner. That's always a big stressful thing. Sponsor, big stressful thing.
CW, their production for sports has actually been very, very good. So I would not be concerned at all about the CW broadcasting these games.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have games all year, right? They have a deal with the Pac-12. They're going to deal with the ACC. So we're going to have a couple of those. But, I mean, it's good to be Washington State, Oregon State. You can qualify for so many bowl games. There's so many bowl games that you can qualify for. You can qualify for all the Pac-12 legacy games. You could qualify for all the Pac-12 games. I mean, if they win 6 games, Washington State or Oregon State, they're probably going to go to a bowl game, almost guaranteed. I mean, they're not going to be like on the outskirts looking in. They're going to have a lot of different places to potentially go to. So that was good news. The NASCAR announcement was good news. Good week for Sports San Diego this week with a lot of different things happening around some of the events here in town. And that's on top of all the other stuff that you're going to see, right? Like you're going to have the National University Bill Walton Classic in November, the Rady Children's Invitational in November. You're going to have two bowl games coming to San Diego in December. And how about an interesting new kickoff time? The Holiday Bowl's always been at night, like 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever it may be. Very rarely at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's gonna be an interesting start time for the Holiday Bowl.
Yeah, it'd be fun, especially for East Coast. You're starting to get getting closer to prime time on the East Coast as well, so you'll get a lot of that audience too. So very nice to see. It's not tucked away, and of course you of course focus on your local area first, but for San Diego to be broadcasted in or around prime time on the East Coast, that is also very, very good for San Diego as a whole.
So here's what was announced today by Sports San Diego. They've announced that SDCCU will serve as the title sponsor of the new, or bringing it back, Poinsettia Bowl, as the game returns to the college football schedule after a decade-long hiatus. The 13th SDCCU Poinsettia Bowl will kick off Wednesday, December 23rd at 4:30 at Snapdragon Stadium, airing on the CW network. The Holiday Bowl will be on it's going to be the 47th annual Holiday Bowl, and that will be on Monday, December 28th. It'll be a 2 o'clock start time. And for more information on this, you can go to SDCCU you can go to poinsettiabowl.com. CW is going to broadcast both the Holiday Bowl and the Poinsettia Bowl. Should be a fun time when we get to December of this year. We got Week 0 coming up this weekend, of course, so it's going to be fun times for college football as we get started on the college football season. But when we come back, we missed it in the 11 o'clock hour. We're going to go back and get to our sports thread. We're going to talk about San Diego State a little bit at 12:40. We also have a couple of guests coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We do have a guest change. CJ Dos Santos, San Diego FC goalkeeper, will join us at 1 o'clock today. Eddie Brown will be at 1:25 to help finish up our show. But still got a lot to get to here on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's number one sports station, 97 through the Fan. Xfinity, imagine that. All right, we usually do this at 11:45. We were talking about the Dodgers and the Mark Walters story. We just had Mark Neville on. So now we're going to get to what's going on in the sports world with today's sports thread.
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
Speaking of barbecue, doing the brisket this weekend. I have too much stuff on my plate right now, and it's not barbecue, of like trying to get some stuff done. And I don't know how I'm gonna pull it off today. I don't. I make the starting lineup like video for Cathedral's video board, and I voice it and I put it all together and I put music on there. That takes me like hours to do, and it's basically for free just because it's cool for the kids, right? And first of all, I haven't gotten the starters yet, so that's also fun. That doesn't make it any easier. I have to do that today. We play today JV, so I'll be over there. I have a varsity walkthrough at some point today. I still have to go buy said brisket, trim it, and get that thing prepped because I throw that thing on like 24 hours out, and I will be consuming some brisket on Saturday. So I got all that I got to do today. Oh, and by the way, we decided as a coaching staff this week, and I say we, I mean other coaches, I don't really care, that we're going to change the uniform for us. So instead of wearing khaki pants, it's like black and gray, and I forget which one is going to be at home and which is going to be on the road. And I don't have those. So I don't know when I'm going to get that today. At some point, I have pants that are close to that. We're going to try to make this work this week. That would have been some pertinent information to know last week when we had a bye and I had time to go buy pants. So add it on the list. I mean, my like to-do list is just way too high today after the show. What stirred all of that? Gus Johnson saying you got barbecue back there and you didn't invite me. I can't wait to Saturday when I am eating my smoked meats.
Just be careful what beef you get, since a lot of it's being recalled right now.
Number 1.
I trust Costco. Costco's got the meats.
As a hater of the NFL, that I am,
you better change some of that attitude.
I must say the NFL made not one, but 2 good decisions yesterday.
Wow, it must be really good if Frank's giving him props.
The NFL has told teams that any player who returns to college will be prohibited from signing with another NFL team during the rest of this season.
Good.
The move comes after former NFL players Daquan Wright and Xavier Harris left the league to take advantage of a court-ordered extra eligibility at LSU. Players cut by an NFL team can still return to college, but will have to wait until next season to return to the NFL. Is it right for the NFL to draw the line, or should players be allowed to move between the two? No, they did the right thing.
You're going to let me in? Well, I'm glad you think that. I agree. The NFL eventually does have to start getting involved with this because it is going to eventually affect them, and it's going to affect their bottom line. I mean, they have to start thinking about this for the preservation of their farm system, which is college football, and for the fact that they can't be getting outbid by colleges for players. I mean, they just can't. In this world right now, they're going to. They need to start emphasizing their own rules. They have the antitrust law exemptions. They need, for the betterment of their own product in the future, they need to put in their own restrictions for something, so you don't have the back and forth. And you know what? This is a step in the right direction.
Yep, I agree. And as Go Aztec said, imagine if all these rules were put in place instead of just being reactionary. What a world.
That would involve
Number 2.
thinking.
Yep, forethought. Here's the second thing the NFL did that was good yesterday. The NFL is killing off the Pro Bowl game beginning this season, ending the league's recent experiment with skills competitions and flag football. Instead, 88 players will be selected to the Pro Bowl class in December and invited to Los Angeles for an in-person celebration to recognize the honor. The league says the players told officials that selection itself carries more meaning than a competitive game after the playoffs, especially given the physical demand of the sport. Is eliminating the game the right move, or should the NFL have found a more entertaining way to showcase its stars? And without competition, does the Pro Bowl selection still have the same prestige?
I mean, I don't know why they don't just do all pro and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, they could do the all pro thing that they've done for so many years. Just make that the award. I don't know why you don't have to showcase players anymore in the era of social media. You don't. Everybody knows who these players are. Everybody sees them every single Sunday. Nobody's going to go to these Pro Bowl activities. I don't think anybody really wants to see him play dodgeball. I mean, I think it's fun, but the main thing of all-star games is eliminated now. Like, there's no all-star games are a thing of the past. It just doesn't work with this day and age of fan, this day and age of athlete. The NFL is doing the right thing of just getting rid of the game. If they want to have like a showcase where everybody's at, they're going to have to come up with something else. But I think for the most part, most of the athletes don't want to participate in it. The fans aren't going to really enjoy it that much. And for how much money you charge these guys to watch this stuff, there's no way they're going to want to do it on a consistent basis. I think it's the right move. And I wouldn't be surprised if more American professional sports leagues follow suit.
Especially in sports like the NFL and the NBA, where people blatantly do not try and blatantly make a mockery of the game while they're playing it.
Right.
Definitely get rid of it.
Number 3.
The Big 12, your Big 12, has unanimously voted to ban professional athletes from returning to college competitions in all sports. The rules applies to athletes declared for the professional draft, are now on a professional roster, or have signed a contract with a pro league. The move follows similar decisions made by the Big Ten and SEC after former NFL players Daquan White and Xavier Harris attempted to return for the colleges. With multiple conferences now banning former pros, is college athletics finally putting a stop to the eligibility chaos, or are these conferences simply creating another legal hurdle?
I think they're finally taking a step in the right direction. That's for sure. I mean, thank goodness. Both of these conferences. I still, until the NFL came up with their rule of like, we're not letting you guys sign these players that go back to college. I believe the Pac-12 should allow these guys to play. I mean, make it an even playing field. But yeah, start reining in some of this chaos. Otherwise, you're not going to have a sport to go back to or a sport to make money from. Finally.
Agreed.
Number 4.
Do you want the NBA or soccer here?
Do I need to answer that question?
Well, it's the last one.
National Basketball Association.
Okay. The Lakers' controlling owner, Jeannie Buss, is challenging the legality of her 5 siblings' decision to sell the family's remaining stake in the Lakers franchise. Buss argues the family trust should retain enough ownership to maintain control and benefit from the team's soaring value, while accusing siblings Janie and Joey of violating their fiduciary duties. The dispute comes as the Lakers are being valued at a staggering $12.5 billion in proposed sale involving Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. Could this family battle ultimately threaten Jeannie Buss's control of the Lakers? And should the Buss family hold on to its remaining stake rather than cashing out at a historic valuation?
I don't know. I guess it kind of depends. I mean, it's a lot of money for them to cash out on. I think they're just trying to cash out because they are trying to get Jeannie back for her kind of like axing him out when Mark Walter like kind of bought the team. So this entire situation is like a season of succession is what it is. Should they keep the team? I mean, if I had ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers, I would try to keep that as long as possible. But that's coming from somebody that's never owned a sports team. But I feel like owning a team like the Lakers with the pedigree and the logo and the I feel like that's kind of cool to have. I don't know. But I could see this thing's going to get dragged out because Jeannie Buss is definitely going to do everything she possibly can to control control the Los Angeles Lakers.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Braden will purchase the Lakers and hold it for as long as possible, i.e. 14 months.
I would hold any sports team for as long as possible. Would never sell it. There was something else. Oh, there was something else that you brought up that I was going to mention, and I totally forgot in one of these stories. What was the story before this one? There's another college football story.
Yeah, it was the Big 12 saying that they're banning.
Oh, that's what it was. Did you see Santa Barbara?
No.
UCSB put out a ban that they will about signing former NFL players to their football team. Did you see that? They put out their own press release. It's the most hilarious thing ever because they don't have a football team.
Don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
UCSB put out on their athletics page. It's like, this is what UC Santa Barbara tweeted out. Standing with Big Ten and SEC since 1992.
Big hop.
Statement from UCSB. UC Santa Barbara Athletics announced Wednesday that effective immediately, we will prohibit football players who have signed with an NFL contract or on an NFL roster at any point or declared for the NFL draft from being eligible for athletic competition at our institution. We stand with the Big Ten and the SEC. Go Gauchos.
Big Hofstra's going to put out a very similar release.
Do you know what else was attached to that press release? A separate picture.
Oh, no.
Of the Spider-Man meme. And it's SEC, the Big Ten, and the UCSB logo on each Spider-Man.
Oh, and they're all pointing at each other.
You know what? You got to give UCSB some credit on that. That is so good.
That's a good one.
That is so good. Other soccer news for you tonight. USD and Stanford. Number 1 versus number 2 in the country. Yes, the USD Toreros are the number 2 team in the country in men's soccer. They play tonight. Up at the farm, they're going to be playing at Stanford. So University of San Diego, number 2 men's soccer team in the country, trying to knock off number 1 for the second time in a week. Last week it was knocking off number 1 Washington. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit about that later on in the show, but we do get to get to break. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973 if you want to jump on the show. Aztecs need some captains for their football program. We'll get to that next. We talked about we played some Jeff Passan for you earlier on the show. Jeff Passan, who writes for ESPN, he bombs atomically, according to his Twitter account. He was on with Ben Woods earlier today, but he just tweeted this out at 12:23. It's about 20 minutes ago. Frank mentioned this off air. But an interesting proposal from MLB. We're going to see more of this when it comes to the CBA and end of the season and into next year and during the off season about, different kind of agreements maybe, or disagreements or proposals, if you will, to try to get a CBA for next season. So recent proposal. Major League Baseball today proposed drastic changes to its offseason calendar, including shortening free agency to a 2 to 3 week window every offseason, sources tell ESPN. The details of the proposal: a free agent dead period until the first day of winter meetings in early December, in which players and teams can negotiate, but no deals can be signed. Trades would be allowed during this period. Free agency would open the Monday the winter meetings begin and would close December 21st. From December 21st to the first Monday in February, no free agent signings or trades would be allowed. Now, it kind of goes dead during that time anyway, right? I mean, sometimes you get like the New Year's trade or a Christmas trade or something like that, but it's like very rare. Free agents could sign and trades would be allowed again from the first Monday in February onward. So they would have a dead period until the winter meetings, and then you would have free agency open from the Monday of winter meetings to December 21st, and then they would close it again until basically you're getting ready for spring training again. I honestly think, Frank, that's a decent proposal, and I think it's fair. It's not like they're having a window and then nobody can sign again. I mean, here's your 3 weeks to get a deal done. Make it exciting for baseball. You already don't see a lot of moves happen after December 21st to spring training anyway. And then when right before spring training starts, here's a new window to get signings done. I know the Players Association is going to say no to everything anyway, but I don't mind this proposal, to be honest with you. When I hear about the proposals from Major League Baseball about creating windows for free agency, I always think, well, you can't make it where it's only 3 weeks where they can actually sign, and that's it till the season. But I think this is a very fair way of like, hey, you have some time before the winter meetings at the conclusion of the World Series. Here's your 3 weeks in December, and then they cut it off for the holidays into January, which goes cold, and you fire it back up again right before you go to spring training.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you can go another step forward and say the last day to sign for that window is the winter meetings. So this way you create even more buzz around the winter meetings than you normally do have, because a lot of deals are going to go down. A lot of guys are going to wait until the last second to sign. So that puts even more emphasis on the winter meetings before free agency gets shut down for the holidays in January. And then it's all about, you get a month before spring training and everything kicks off again. And I think that would probably be a very good way of doing it as well.
Major League Baseball is trying their best to be as entertaining as possible for as long as possible. Okay, like they're trying to be the NFL as much as they can. Now, whether or not they are ever going to be able to accomplish that, I think remains to be seen. I wouldn't bet on it. But the NBA has a fun offseason where they have something like this, and it's just a whirlwind of moves and trades and pickups and stuff, and they control that like week of just nonstop entertainment. I think everybody gets that fun adrenaline rush during the trade deadline. Now we do, especially because the Padres with AJ Preller have consistently put together just unpredictable trade deadlines. Major League Baseball wants to be able to have that during the offseason instead of this slow drag out of here's who's talking to who and, no deal really close. And then all of a sudden, bang, one big deal. And that's kind of it. I think Major League Baseball, if they want to be somewhat relevant during the offseason, have to impose something like this. I don't know what you're going to have to give up to make the players want this or buy into this. But I credit Major League Baseball for trying to be in a position to create some extra entertainment throughout the year. I mean, the best example of a league that has that tries to be relevant the entire year is the NFL. Every single month they have something, and they do that on purpose, right? They have the Super Bowl in February. You got the Combine in March. You got the draft or like OTA, whatever, in April, and draft and stuff in May. I mean, in June, you start doing all these other like mini camps and stuff like that. July, you start camp. August, you do preseason. And then you got the season from September, October, November, December, and January. They have some big deal every single month, and they control the calendar. Baseball has like the trade deadline, October, and then maybe 2 weeks in spring training. I know they have the whole summer, but you get to a lot of dog days of summer where people are on vacation. They're not paying attention too much. I think this is a way to get people excited for baseball in December outside of this market who has only baseball as their primary sport and obviously pays attention to a large portion of it. But I think baseball needs to create something that people are absolutely tuned in for.
But what about our freedoms? As a player, if I want to make that decision on January 15th, I should be able to. What about my freedoms, Braden? What about those? Have you thought of the little guy?
I have.
Have you even made a consideration for the little player that's trying to decide whether or not he wants to make $350 million or $370 million? Why can't that guy, why can't the little guy, the guy who has the most sway in Major League Baseball, why can't he decide on his own timeline when he wants to play for a certain team or not?
Well, you can make those decisions working in a different industry. You don't have to play Major League Baseball.
But I'm good at it.
What does that mean? You're only good as somebody thinks you are. Someone is willing to pay. I think that's necessary for baseball. I don't know how they're going to get this done, but with a lot of these proposals, I've actually liked a lot of things that both sides have put out there in terms of making the game better and making it more entertaining for the fans.
Yeah, and we all knew that the big thing, the big posture was the salary cap. That was it. And a lot of the guys you had a feeling that they were going to agree on everything, but the one big sticking issue you knew was going to be the salary cap. And so you're going to see that. You're going to see compromise. You're going to see good statements and good points made and good proposals made on each side. It's just that one thing, and it is the biggest thing about this CBA.
We're gonna have a couple of guests here in the 1 o'clock hour. We have a couple of minutes. More people keep DMing me about this TCU situation with the reporting, and everybody's so upset. Like the reporters are so upset about this. But here's my thing about this.
Don't be wrong.
But here's the other thing. The situation at hand with this report that got this guy lost his credentials, which I almost guarantee you they will give him a credential before Saturday. I feel like they're going to work something out.
Wouldn't surprise
But
me.
all of these scribes are so upset about this. It's like, if you wrote something that you got as a source, which was from a unverified Instagram account spewing what they thought happened in a locker room, and then you come to and then blaming the coaching staff for an assault in a locker room, And then you put that in an article blaming a coaching staff for basically negligence for what happened in a locker room, to come to find out that that source is fake, didn't know anything about the issue, and the person that got kicked off the team's family said that guy is erroneous, to then sit there and be like all upset that TCU said, you can't be saying these things and have access to our team. I don't know what to tell you. I know. What is it?
Get over it. That's really it. Get over it.
I know. There's multiple issues here. The issue is not that they reported about the incident. The issue was they didn't grant the receiver, and they didn't grant the receiver that got assaulted anonymity, who was in the hospital. He got death threats for ruining the season for some crazy fans. And then you come and the coaching staff was all of a sudden getting accused of negligence. And there's a lot of defamation in this coming off of an Instagram post that you did not verify if it was true, yet you printed it anyway. I'm sorry, journalists. You can't do that and not be punished for it. That school is a private school. They don't have to grant you access. You have freedom to press whatever you want, but if it's inaccurate and it could potentially lead to a defamation lawsuit, I'm sorry. You're probably going to lose your credential. You have the freedom to say what you want and print what you want. That doesn't mean you're free from consequences from poor decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why national media people can't understand it. They all nick together and stuff and go like, oh, how dare you revoke a credential? That's not fair. It's like, are you saying you guys could say whatever you want? You should never have any consequences for it? That's what I'm getting from a lot of sports journalists right now. Crazy. When we come back, we're going to get to CJ Dos Santos. He's a goalkeeper for San Diego FC. First time talking to him since the World Cup. See how that experience went for him. 87.3 The Fan. Should be having CJ Dos Santos on here momentarily as we start the 1 o'clock hour. Eddie Brown will be on with us here in just a little bit as he gets people right now. Now we're in fantasy draft week. I got a draft today. My next draft will be the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. I know the our YouTube chat friends have a fantasy football league. I was going to ask if you had an extra spot. I would have jumped in. Didn't get the formal invite. Maybe I did. Maybe I ignored it. Maybe I didn't see it. Who knows? We'll see if there's extra spots. Anyway, fantasy foot. I don't know how I'm going to make it through that today. I got that draft at like 6. We're supposed to do a walkthrough at like 2:40. I got to go run some errands too. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do it, man. It's life be life, and sometimes. I know you feel that today. Life be life, and sometimes. Yeah, apparently I missed the invite, Nate. Yeah, the heck. What if they invited Sushi Sam instead of me? It's kind of messed up. I don't know. I don't remember seeing that. Anyway, we're going to get to CJ Dos Santos here in just a little bit as we talk about San Diego FC, where they're at right now, the ladder they got to climb here in the standings. But it's with great pleasure to welcome him back to the Braden Surprenant Show as he joins us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking. It's better. CJ Dos Santos, the goalkeeper for San Diego FC, joining us on the hotline. And CJ, it's been a little bit, but last time we talked, you were getting ready for the World Cup. Now you got to get back after probably a remarkable experience for yourself. It's good to have you back on the air.
Hey guys, hi. Thanks for having me once again. It's good to be here again.
Let's talk about that experience. I know you've been on a lot of different outlets. I'm sure you talked about it before, but you were part of a Cabo Verde team that really shocked a lot of people in the World Cup. Your guys as a team put up a clean sheet. Or were able to have a draw against Spain, one of the best ever, best in the world. What was the experience like for you at the World Cup, being part of this team, and talk to us a little bit about what Cabo Verde was able to accomplish this year?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience from start to finish. Preparing for the tournament for the first couple of weeks, it was a great experience to be with them each and every day. And then finally being able to represent the country at that huge of a stage, it was an absolute blessing, absolute honor to just have a front row seat and to be a part of the team and obviously try to do my best to help out the team in any way possible.
Transition back to MLS play, regular season play, obviously. And, the guys, a lot of up and down this year, trying to get back to where you were last year. You guys have played a lot of hard-fought matches throughout the season, but it just seems like you've put a good 80 minutes together, and then the last kind of 10 minutes haven't really worked out for the beginning part of the season. You guys have now gotten onto a little bit more of a run. What's the difference been since returning from the World Cup?
I think we just took that month or so just to kind of reset and to get back into the swing of things, having the second preseason to get the group back together, to figure out where we are and where we want to be, and just to take it one day at a time and one training session at a time. And now it's time to string some points together, string some wins together, and we're looking to make a really big push in this next phase in the season.
You guys did pretty well in the Leagues Cup as well. Went 2-1. You guys have spent a little bit too much time down there at Estadio Azteca, which is a very tough place to play. But you're able to beat, Tijuana. You're able to go 2-1 in the Leagues Cup. What was that? What do you think that experience did for the team as we have now resumed MLS play?
I think it was a good challenge for us to go into that competition, to play against teams like that and in an environment like that, against really, really good teams. It really gave us a lot of confidence, seeing that we can play against a type of players with great individual players and a great team, good collective teams in those types of environments. It gave us a lot of confidence going into these MLS games.
Obviously, you've mentioned it before, and I know it's like one game at a time. You guys do have a little bit of time here to get back into the swing of things. And again, playing better soccer as of late, coming off of a big win against Colorado. But, as you guys go through this kind of stretch, what's the most important thing from a team aspect of trying to stay focused here and climbing your way up the leaderboard?
I think it's just about keeping maximum focus each and every day in the trainings, and especially on the game days. Like you said earlier, you have to get us through 90 minutes plus, and just trying to do every single action, the 110%, every sprint, every pass with the highest quality, highest focus possible.
Obviously, a big match coming up on Saturday. You guys are taking on LA Galaxy. I mean, obviously, without getting into the details of, maybe some of the drama that might be involved with this, with, Chucky Lozano being part of the team, but not really training at the facility. He's now with the LA Galaxy. This is an important game for you guys in the standings, more so than a lot of the drama. How do you guys go into what's the preparation like for this game? How important is this for you guys going into the match on Saturday? And, what's going to be the biggest challenge for you guys coming into this match against LA Galaxy?
We take every game with the same seriousness as every other game, regardless of the competition, regardless of the opponent. We take it 110% with each game, regardless of who we're going against on a Saturday. And we've just taken this week to kind of prepare the best that we can, especially with the congested schedule that we've had. We've taken this longer extended period during this week to really see what we can do collectively, what we can do individually. And we're just going to take that into the weekend.
We're talking with CJ Dos Santos, goalkeeper of San Diego FC, here on the SDCCU fan hotline. Obviously, you guys put together, got a couple new spots, new players with this organization the last couple of weeks. A big one in Elias Achouri. With the addition of Elias, what has he brought to the team from an on-field perspective, but also, from a teammate perspective?
He's a fantastic player, and you can see that from the first touches that he's had coming into the team and coming into the games. In the first couple games that he came in, he gave us a different dimension in the game through 1v1s and verticality, and just to be able to utilize him in the final third. And it's been amazing to have him as an extra threat and an extra tool for our team. But he's such an amazing human being. He's integrated himself really, really well within the team individually. And he's such an amazing guy and very personable, very kind. So we're really happy and really lucky to have him in the locker room with us.
You guys have had a lot of young players step up as well, and Mikey Varas has given them opportunities, and they have made the most of said opportunities. What can you say about the next man up kind of mentality of getting some of these young guys opportunities, but then a lot of them capitalizing when they have gotten some field action? That shows a lot of great signs of a great team. What can you say about the way this team plays together, and what's it like as someone watching some of these guys finally get their chance, really taking making the most of it?
You'd love to see young players and players in general getting opportunities, and it's a really amazing thing to see these types of players wait for their opportunity to come, and then it's even more amazing to see them take advantage of every opportunity that they get, whether it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or 90 minutes. They give everything for the team. They make big plays. They step up to the game. They make a difference in the game whenever they come off the bench. So we're really happy to have everyone contribute to this season.
Well, still got a little bit of a ladder to climb, but you guys are playing a lot better soccer as of late, and I appreciate the time, CJ. Good luck this weekend. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me.
CJ Dos Santos, San Diego FC goalkeeper, joining us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking, it's better. And Frank, I mean, we're talking about this San Diego FC team. Beginning of the year kind of struggled, but playing a lot better as of late. Had a big win against Colorado over the weekend, but this is setting up a very important match against the LA Galaxy coming up this weekend, where you have some maybe emotional play involved. You have the Chucky Lozano situation, but ultimately the biggest reason why this is a huge game, you're tied with LA Galaxy right now in the table with the same amount of points, and you're going to be right there competing with them at the end of the season. And this is direct competition for a playoff spot.
Yeah, it is. And you guys are very, very close. They are very tight with each other.
1 point off.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to be that way. This is a very different LA Galaxy team that you saw last year. Remember, I think it took about until this time last year before the LA Galaxy got their first win, and that was coming off an MLS Cup championship the year before. So this is a very different LA Galaxy club that you're going to be seeing come into Snapdragon Stadium this weekend. One that is going to be a lot more competitive, a lot more like their normal selves as compared to last year. And I was there for the match last year. Both matches were very, very dramatic, especially the one here last year. Of course, getting your first win against the reigning defending MLS Cup champions in franchise history in the first game in the history of the franchise is absolutely massive. But the game here came down to the final couple minutes last year as well. And that passion was really shown, spilled into the fans, spilled into the crowd at the end of last year's game, unfortunately. So let's try to avoid that. But these are two very, very competitive teams with two very, very competitive fan bases. And it's going to be a very, very fun time this weekend.
How do we think the Chucky Lozano situation is going to play out?
He's going to play. And I have a feeling that he is going to play. I have a feeling he's going to be solid. He's going to be the Chucky Lozano that a lot of people expect him to be, especially with the fact that he has not played at all this year, did not play for San Diego FC at all this year, did not play for Mexico during the World Cup, didn't get the call. So he's fresh. He's ready to go. And depending upon how well he's learned the LA Galaxy system, he may thrive, he may not. That's just the way it is. And again, it is not time to sit there and overreact and say, oh, well, this is why we should have had him here. As I've said many, many, many times over the course of this season, the problems that San Diego FC have had over the course of this season would not have been solved by Chucky Lozano playing. They would not have. So the San Diego FC, great job by Mikey Varas to stand on business and do what he felt was right for the club at whatever detriment it came. I support that decision. I like his decision there. And if he runs through you, then he runs through you. But ultimately, I think what Mikey Varas did by sticking to his guns in the Chucky Lozano situation will be more valuable than one game or one or two matches for the LA Galaxy.
He's played in three games for LA Galaxy this year. He's played 122 minutes. Has had one shot on target, one yellow card. Again, still trying to figure out the system and playing with the Galaxy. But I would imagine it'll be a pretty emotional game for Chucky Lozano on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's going to be a very emotionally charged match. We're going to have Elias Achouri on tomorrow now. We were supposed to have CJ on tomorrow and Achouri today. It's going to be we flipped it. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be emotional for all involved. Chucky Lozano is going to want to show San Diego FC why they should not have let him go, why they should have maybe given him another chance. San Diego FC fans are going to be invested both ways. They're going to want to beat him, and they're also going to want to point to, see, this is why we shouldn't have let him go. And of course, the LA Galaxy fans that are going to come down are going to want to shove it in your face if Lozano plays well. So it's going to be a very emotionally charged game, no matter what the result is tomorrow.
It'll be interesting to see. We'll see if San Diego FC can get the W. The more important thing, of course, is, and just knowing this, like Mikey Varas, he's going to be locked in on winning because of this. They need to win in the standings, and this is a team that is directly competitive with you in the standings. And I just think a Mikey Varas led team so far has had that edge and had that, one game at a time mentality. I know it's a cliche. I know it's coach speak, but when you watch these guys play, they're locked in on that one game. That doesn't mean that they're going to have success every time. Obviously, they've had sometimes they've had some success and sometimes they haven't this year. This year's been a lot more of a challenge, but honestly, like this year's the year that I thought they would potentially have last year.
Yes.
I honestly do. I mean, I think last year was kind of like almost an anomaly, if you will, but and they showed great poise and leadership, but like last year was totally unexpected. Whereas like this year seems a little bit more like last year. And if they had this season last year, I think people would be like still excited about San Diego FC. Like, hey, look, they're right there in the playoff spot. I mean, they're an expansion team. And how many times did we talk about this during the offseason that year two for expansion teams are usually not nearly as exciting as year one if year one goes extremely well. And I think San Diego FC is dealing that with that right now. Plus, they've played in some Leagues Cups. They've played in some, other, what was it? The CONCACAF Champions.
The Champions Cup. Yeah.
Champions Cup. I mean, they've played in a lot of extra soccer. Plus, it's an interesting calendar year with the World Cup and everything going on. So,
that, and you also have next year is probably not going to be as entertaining because, again, next year is going to be that abbreviated year before flipping onto the European calendar where you're starting the season now instead of starting it in February like the MLS does. So it's this year one was crucial. This year is a solid season. Next year is going to be a dud, but it's going to be a dud for all of MLS, not just for San Diego FC, because it's going to be so abbreviated and so short. And then it's the long layover before you get to the new schedule.
Yeah. What, that start next year or the year after?
I think it's the year after.
That's when you're going to have like just a ton of soccer, right?
No, I think there's.
You have like that. It's going to be like a very short break, and then they're going to be back.
If I remember right, they're going to do like a 6-match kind of quote unquote season, somewhat, and then it's going to get into the for realsies this time now. So it's transitioning. The MLS is transitioning from a summer sport to a winter sport, effectively.
Right. I just remember there was going to be like a lot of soccer and then not a lot of soccer. There was going to be like some type of weird break like that. We'll talk about that maybe with Drake tomorrow. When we come back, we got to get to Eddie Brown. We're going to talk some fantasy football with you. We're going to lock back into Padres baseball to finish up the show. Still a lot to get to here on the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing as Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I am Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. Live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97 to the Fan. We're going to be talking Padres baseball again when we come back. I got to say, this is I don't know. I don't have time for this. In the amount of time, Sammy Lev was here today, right? Sammy Lev was here today. He was here this morning, okay? And, he kept going to the glass and pressing his face on the glass and, just trying to distract Frank like he always does. And, in the meantime, he should have been getting his fantasy notes together because we got a text. Like last night, I asked about the keeper rules as a reminder, and I said, you had to draft them 5th round or later the previous year. He had to be on your team for the entire season, and you couldn't pick him more than 3 years in a row. I literally have that in text. And then in the process, people trying to figure out where they're drafting. People are trying to figure out whatever their deal is. Tony's like, please announce your keeper, yada, yada, whatever. He's got to input it manually. Sam goes, what are the keeper rules again? Bro, just scroll up. It's right there. I replied to my own text to Sammy. I'm like, read the text, Sam. Read the texts. And then he goes, well, how do I check where I drafted the guy last year? Oh my God. This guy came in second in this league last year. It's all you need to know about fantasy and luck. Amazing. Eddie Brown doesn't need luck to win his fantasy leagues. Eddie Brown knows how to look up last year's draft. Eddie Brown knows his keeper league rules. Eddie Brown is our fantasy football guru. He joins us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. Eddie, what's going on? Getting ready for draft season, I would imagine.
Hey, Braden. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't turn good luck down, though.
No, definitely not. I'm a part of that as well. Got to know your keeper rules, Eddie. I mean, that's got to be, one of the rule 101 before you get into your draft. And we've talked about this before. We got our draft today, and I'll ask you a couple of draft specific questions in a second. But one of the rules is that, and rule of thumb in the Eddie Brown book of how to have a good draft is probably know the rules of your league, I would imagine.
Yes, but I also let me see. I started playing fantasy football back in 1997. I don't think I've ever been in a league where everybody did know the rules. So that will be the first time next time I'm in a league where everybody's up to date with rules and the inner workings of the league.
All right, so I got, keeper leagues are interesting, obviously, for a lot of people that might not know what a keeper is. That's usually keeping a guy on your roster for the next year. There are players that are probably good keepers. There are players that are probably not good keepers. I mean, how do you address the keeper situation going into a draft? I'll tell you our rules in a second, but, when it comes to keepers, I think a lot of it is the rules, Eddie, but just because you have a really good player from the year before doesn't necessarily mean, depending on the draft position, you want to use them as your keeper, right?
Right. I mean, the first and foremost thing I think about is the value. So one, is he going to repeat? Obviously, if you're thinking about keeping him, is he going to repeat what he did last year? So that'll answer your question right away if it's a no. Second, if you do think there's a good chance he's going to repeat, then it's like, well, okay, what's the price tag? Because last year you obviously you got him at probably a lower rate than what you're going to have to pay for him this year. So what's the gap in between what you paid for him last year, what you think he's going to do, and what you're going to have to pay for this year?
I got one. All right, so our keeper league rules are: got to draft him in the 5th round or later the previous season. He has to be on your team the entire year, and you can't use him more than 3 years in a row. I drafted Drake May in the 9th round. I know you can get quarterbacks in the middle rounds. Is Drake May a solid keeper position, thinking about the 9th round compared to where he's going right now in most drafts?
Yes, I think so. I think he's probably a top 3 quarterback. I mean, the only guys I'm thinking that are probably universally going ahead of him is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Maybe people are considering Burrow, but most people probably have May ahead of Burrow. So yeah, I think he's a pretty solid pick that high.
So just for people that are driving around maybe and listening to talking about the value, who are some players that, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but who are some players that weren't drafted very high last year that are getting drafted very high this year that would kind of fit some of the keeper rules of value that you were explaining?
Well, excuse me, that is a good question. Let me see. Guys are going higher this year as opposed to last year. I think, probably some of the younger, obviously the rookies are guys that, the guys that stepped up last year and that had big years. I think I look at somebody like Marion Hampton probably, depending on what you think of the Chargers offensive line. I think he's a guy who can make a big leap forward in his second season. I think I'm trying to think of guys like Kyle Williams in New England, somebody who wasn't drafted very high and who will be won't probably go high in your drafts this year, but because of a Kayshon Boutte trade recently might see more targets. That's another player I would look forward to.
Let's talk about your article this week. And you thought of I thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, we've done the math already before, and we've talked about a couple other things, but you had it about Warren Buffett participating in your fantasy draft. A little bit of a imagine this situation, and you compare fantasy football drafting to investing like Warren Buffett. What made you think that Buffett's philosophy was the right lens for a fantasy draft? Can you explain a little bit further about maybe the value or the stock that Warren Buffett might see?
Yeah, definitely. First off, just the idea of Warren Buffett sitting in one of my fantasy drafts just kind of gave me the chuckles all week, and I just couldn't kind of get that idea out of my head. But he's famously, one of his principles has always been, separating price and value and taking advantage of the situation where the market doesn't necessarily see it the same way. And so if that's not a one-for-one transfer to fantasy sports and fantasy football in particular, I don't know what is. So it's all about, especially in today's world where everything's online, everything's on the internet. You can actually see average draft position in all these, multiple drafts, and you can get an idea what your league is going to be, focused on and everything like that. If you can determine that there's value somewhere that, that's lower or that's higher than where a player is going, then you have an inherent advantage in your draft. And so when I connected those dots, I was like, oh, this is a good way to explain it.
Let's talk about the running back strategy. I mean, you say running backs are back in a big way in 2026, but you also warn against blindly following the crowd, which you definitely see in drafts a lot of the time. Somebody takes a kicker, then you got 5 kickers off the board and the next 5 draft picks. Is the biggest danger this year that everyone knows running backs are valuable? Or is this a year where you could probably maybe wait a little bit longer on a running back?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the $60,000 question. Also, that's something Buffett would definitely never do. That's one thing I thought about. He would not respond to a run, so like the idea, he would be like, okay, well, that's creating value somewhere else. I think the idea that the running game is starting to kind of have a comeback in the NFL. Past offenses have been more inefficient the last couple of seasons. The defenses with the shell cover 2 and everything like that. They're taking away some of the deep game, and the offense hasn't necessarily caught up. But the way they responded is kind of like the way Sean McVay has gone. They've added tight ends to the fray, and they're running the ball more, and they're focused on getting ahead that way. I think what that's going to cause is obviously those top tier running backs are going to be valued. But if you don't pick high enough to get a Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs or even a Jonathan Taylor or James Cook or CMC, if you're not risk averse, then it wouldn't make sense for you to just take like a second tier, third tier running back as your main build around and then attack receivers. It might make more sense to go the other way and still kind of stay true to the zero running back strategy, which has been really in vogue the last probably half dozen years. And the idea that you load up on top tier receivers and you take advantage of the depth at that position, and then you take chances with your running backs, in the mid rounds, in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round.
I see a lot of cheat sheets, Eddie, and we're talking with Eddie Brown, our fantasy football insider, here on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking, it's better. ADP and tiers, that usually is on a lot of different cheat sheets. Obviously, if you want to use a cheat sheet or your own draft board, you're going to have these numbers on there. And you make a distinction between drafting from tiers and simply following a shopping list. How should the average fantasy player actually use tiers during a live draft without overthinking every pick? And a lot of these picks, obviously, you got about a minute to make the said pick.
Right. And I think the tier, creating your own tier system, like I don't even necessarily follow the tiers that are there. Like creating your own tier system, I think, is the key to making this entire thing work. It enables you to know, where the drop off is. So if there's 4 or 5 running backs still there available that you like, that's going to be that at least one of them is going to be available at your next pick, then it makes more sense to go a different position. And while your league mates might be looking at that and be like, oh my God, I need a running back. I have to grab a running back here, just because they look at the roster and they're like, oh, it feels incomplete at this point. So I think creating your own tier system is the best way to do this, because trust me, as somebody who is oddly enough, ranks things for a living, especially when it comes to my draft coverage. I don't know how many conversations I get in with people when they're like, when they're disagreeing with me at like, I have a tight end in the draft rated 8 and some other tight end rated 9th. And they're like, there's no way that he's better than 9. I'm just like, I'm not saying that, guys. There's something that's a little bit better, but they're probably going to get drafted in the same round. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a better way to look at how we rate these players in general, as opposed to just list.
Last ditch second fantasy draft advice before we start talking about, obviously, regular season ads and everything like that. I mean, you've given us a lot of advice so far, but for people that are making drafts and doing drafts this weekend, what's the best advice that you would give them going into the weekend?
Just load up on injury information. Not just guys who've gotten hurt recently, because some guys are, maybe, tweaked a hamstring, but they're fine for the regular season. Some guys might go a little deeper, but also guys try to figure out when some guys are coming back, like somebody like Zach Charbonnet. Everything I understand, he's probably not going to be ready until October or November. Well, that probably gives a player like Jadarian Price a long runway to kind of secure that job before Charbonnet comes back. Not that he's not going to be involved, but if Price, takes the job and runs with it, then that's going to be a pretty big advantage for him. And right now, his ADP, I think he's getting drafted outside the top 20 running backs. So it's a big advantage to kind of dig into that information and try to help you, when you are creating your own tier system. That's a good way to drill down on.
Eddie, we appreciate the time. As always, look forward to talking to you again in the near future, and good luck on all your drafts, whether they're this week or you've already had some, whatever. Hopefully you draft well. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, you as well, Braden. Take care.
Eddie Brown joining us in the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. When we come back, talk about the Padres and Rays for a little bit as we dive into Padres baseball to finish up the show.
Chris Ella from Gwynn and Chris. Weekdays at 4 o'clock, we play a trivia game where you get a leg up by just calling in. Prizes, fun.
for weekend action. We'll have a full high school football preview tomorrow. A lot of big games throughout the county. We will also have a special guest from San Diego FC. We will also be talking to Drake Hills for the final time on the show. We'll explain more about that tomorrow. We will also be talking about Padres baseball as they get ready to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. We have so much to get to, and maybe I'll recap how my team auto drafted tonight because we're doing the fantasy draft in the middle of my high school football game, but that's neither here nor there. I did the big board last night. I got my own thing that they're going to pull from, so hopefully that works. If not, well, we're going to make the most of it. We're going to make the most of it. All right, well, a lot to get to still on the show from a lot of different things that we had talked about that we haven't talked about yet. We got the information from Jeff Passan about the latest proposal from Major League Baseball and another thing that they want to get done. The players don't like anything that the owners throw out there, so I find that to be interesting nonetheless. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow if you want. Padres and where they're at right now. Like, at this point, this Padres team, they asked the question on the roundtable today. I don't know. I thought I was I guess Booney was in the same thing. Should I be more concerned, Frank? I mean, I'm not overly concerned about this team right now. I know they lost 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, but I look at the way the team has been playing. I'm not going to let 2 games against the Bucks in which you probably could have won those games despite how poorly the offensive might have hit yesterday. Or sorry, not yesterday, but the first 2 games against Pittsburgh. I'm not overly upset about this homestand. They went 4-2. I'm not overly concerned about the offense. I think they'll figure it out here in the next couple of weeks or so. I mean, they already put together a better game yesterday than they did the first 2 games. I think they're going to be fine. I really do. I think they match up better against the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you go head to head on that particular situation, I like where they're at. I mean, I'm not concerned, but it seemed like the other panelists were a little bit more concerned.
I don't really see much of a reason to be concerned. It looks like I said, it looks like April and May Padres, but without the April or May offensive struggles. And we haven't seen this team become the best offensive team in baseball since the All-Star break. So I think there would be a little bit more credence to the worry and the concern had this offense not turned it around over the last couple of months. But since they have, I really don't see it as more than a bump in the road. And again, those weren't games where you were completely out of it. It was a 3-2 extra inning loss and a 1-0 loss on a freak home run given up by Mason Miller, who hadn't given one up since August 5th of last year. You were in both of those games. So it's not like he got blown out 2 out of 3.
I didn't think it was overall concerning. I really didn't. That was one of our main topics. The other main topic, of course, is the Manny Machado situation. We talked about that a lot at the beginning part of the show, but he needs a day off. I'm going to tell you right now, he ain't going to take 2 days off in a row. Like do you see that ever happening with this guy? Unless he is absolutely injured and he doesn't want to go on the IL because he didn't do that last time, that would be the only time that he is going to me, take 2 days off.
Later in his career, maybe. I mean, that's still a few years down the road. I would not mind not seeing him play on Friday just for the rest factor.
He would get 2 days off, which would be great.
Yeah, like I told you off air, I would, if I were Craig Stammen, I would say, okay, cool. We've landed in Tampa. This is on Wednesday night. Manny, you are going to get a drive. You are going to get a chauffeur for the 4-hour drive to Miami. You are going to go home. You are going to rest with your family. And we are not going to see you again until Saturday. End of discussion. Go home, recharge, do what you have to do, and we'll see you at the Trop on Saturday.
I don't even think you really have to do that, to be honest. But like to me,
no, I would go a little over the top with
You're
it
a
just to
little
get
over
him to go and agree to it.
all right. So over the course of basically the next month, I'd give him the day off tomorrow, but who knows if he actually takes the day off tomorrow as they play Tampa. I think you give him the day off Wednesday against Cincinnati, which would give him a day off before, a scheduled day off on Thursday. I think you give him the day off against Washington the next Wednesday, and then you have another day off. So then that's 2 weeks in a row where he's gotten 2 days off each week, considering the scheduled day off. So you're only taking 2 games off at that point. And then I think you give him the Sunday off against Miami. That gives him that he misses a total of 3 games, yet he gets 6 days off in the month of September. You're still playing all 3 games against the Yankees, who are a better opponent. You're still playing all 3 games against Arizona and Los Angeles at the end of the season, like the 6 games in a row. To me, that's how. Yeah, and he would, if that's the case, he would have not played in 6 of the total amount of games this season, because he's missed 3 games so far this year. That would be 3 extra games that he misses. So instead of playing a 162 season, he plays 156 games for the Padres. I think that's a win-win for like the Padres and him. And maybe like hopefully they just take care of business over the next couple of weeks and put themselves into a better position where they don't have to worry about not making the playoffs. And maybe you could give them a couple of more days to rest up. But you have 3 scheduled off days starting next week. You got the one today. And if you go off of that, I think you do the early game in Cincinnati on Wednesday. I think you do the following Wednesday against the Nationals. And I think you do the Sunday against the Marlins as the 3 games that he misses. Let him play in all the other ones. If you want to get like an extra day, I mean, you got to play, a handful of games in a row, going to San Francisco and Colorado and then hosting Miami. Maybe you get him that Thursday off, the 4th game in Colorado, because the Rockies aren't very good. You shouldn't have to use Manny Machado in that instance. But to me, like if you get 3, you give him those 3 days off, he'll have 6 total days off in September. He'd be having 2 days off a week for 3 weeks almost in a row. I think that's going to put him just in a way better place.
Yeah, get you ready for the postseason, because you saw how the season ended for him last year after being so hot and having such an uncharacteristic April for him last year in his scorching hot start, which he never has. Then see it turn into just rolling over, double plays, getting into outs, making mistakes at the end of the season and into the playoffs. That's not something you want to repeat. So yeah, try to get him as many days off as you possibly can. And like you said, manipulate the schedule to your benefit as often as you possibly can.
I think that's probably the best plan of attack. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think he sits out tomorrow. I'd like to see him sit out tomorrow, but I don't think he does. The last thing was Randy Vásquez and Yuki Matsui, you got to give them their flowers for the way that they have pitched.
100%.
Randy Vásquez more recently. Yuki Matsui's put together a phenomenal year, and he's got an opt-out if he wants it at the end of the year. I mean, that was something that you didn't think would be in play going into the season, or even at even in the beginning of the season when he was doing well after he started off on the injured list or whatever it was. I would say like he probably is more leaning towards maybe opting out of that deal, but they paid him to be like a back end high leverage reliever, and kind of like a cheaper closer on the market. Maybe he does stay because he's not going to get like that on the open market, but he has definitely pitched his way to make that now a conversation to be had.
Yeah, I mean, and this is kind of what you expected to get out of him when you signed him to be that closer. This is a backup plan to Robert Suarez. This is before you really realized how impactful Adrian Morejon was going to be at the back end of the bullpen and in high leverage situations, and certainly before Mason Miller was even a discussion. But Yeah, Yuki Matsui has been absolutely fantastic this year. And credit where credit's due. He has turned it around. He looks like he's finally gotten acclimatized to the game here in the U.S. and he is flourishing right now. Acclimated.
I think it's an interesting question for him. Whether or not he wants to opt out. He's got good money though. Like how much more is he going to get? I mean, he's costing you 5.6 towards the AAV, but he's getting 5.7 this year, 6.5 next year. Oh, by the way, he's got a $7 million player option for 2028. That's kind of hard to opt out of.
That might also be one of those things where you're looking for teams, if there is a salary cap and floor, might overpay to get someone like him to become compliant with the floor.
Possible. That'll do it for us. Quinn and Chris coming up next, live from Vegas. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.